I'm hearing it. I'm hearing it.
All right, I'm going to pause it right after this. All right. You got it?
Yep.
Okay, so are you there? All right. Are you good?
Okay, I'm synced up. I am synced up because I can hear you and I can hear me at the same time. I'm turn mine down just a little bit. There we go. Okay.
Okay. Here we are. This is Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Mm-hmm.
1999 American epic space opera. This is from Wikipedia. Written and directed by George Lucas. Produced by Lucasfilm. Starring Liam Neeson, Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman, Jake Lloyd, Ian McDiarmid. I don't know how to pronounce that name.
I always said it Ian McDiarmid, but yeah.
Ian McDiarmid. God, can't say it. Anthony Daniels, Kenny Baker, Pernilla August, Frank Oz. And it was released May 16th, 1999. Now it's over 20 years ago.
What, am I mistaken? Was it not released on a Thursday?
It might have actually been released on a Wednesday to capitalize on having the extended weekend, you know?
Wednesday night? This
it actually might... No. It actually might have been released midnight Wednesday. So midnight Wednesday, because there were midnight screenings.
Really late Tuesday, really.
Yeah, just late Tuesday.
The thing is, though, I remember what the weekend of it was. The weekend was by today's standards, was kind of small.
Right.
Even though it broke the record, it was like a $60-some million opening, which even in adjusted dollars would probably maybe be close to $100 million today. Could you imagine? You remember Solo opened to 100, and they considered that a flop.
Yeah, that's probably, they didn't. We talked a little bit about international releases back then. They didn't exactly roll out simultaneously the way they do now. Mm-hmm. So, they would roll out very slowly internationally 20 years ago, but today everything is simultaneous. Mm-hmm. And I remember it being a big deal because the next movie to really kind of get those numbers was Harry Potter, I think.
Oh yeah, that opened 90-some. Actually, you know what broke the record was it was the Mummy. The Mummy Returns, a year later, or 2 years later.
Right.
Mummy Returns opened to just over what this opened to.
He said the line.
Oh, I have a bad feeling about this.
Everyone says that in every movie, except nobody. Did anyone say it in the new sequel spinoffs?
Oh, at least once. I know that.
I know that Poe said, "I got a good feeling about this" or something.
Han Solo, I think, said it. I think once in Force Awakens.
In Force Awakens.
I figure we got to go back, but yeah, I have a feeling like they did. They almost have to. Hell, Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones says it in the last Indiana Jones for no reason.
yeah. It's kind of like I don't know. It's kind of like how you have to have Bart Simpson in The Simpsons say, "I didn't do it," and then everybody applauds. I need to grab my coffee.
But when I saw this in the theater, maybe I think I went on the Thursday. And I went the matinee show 1 o'clock. I swear, maybe 10 people, 12 people, the whole theater. And I'm like, this is Star Wars. What the hell's going on?
Yeah. I would say that I saw this on the weekend after its release. So I probably saw it on a Saturday in the afternoon.
Probably a packed theater for you.
Yeah, I saw it over here, actually, as a matter of fact. This theater that I go to, Regal Kaufman Astoria. And it was one of the theaters that was... what was it? It had been, retrofitted by Lucas's people. In addition to this other theater, the United Artists Theater nearby, where I also saw it again. I must have seen it 3 or 4 times in the theater, I think, when it was released.
I saw it for free. I think I told this is my story of it was on a box.
Oh, your box tops, right?
It was no, it wasn't even box tops. It was literally a coupon you cut out of the back of the box. Free movie cash, good for up to, I think it was at the time maybe $8 or something.
Right.
And that was enough for a matinee show. And I'm like, shit, I can go see this for free. And I did. And I got my money's worth.
And they honored it.
Because I was a tad.
They actually took your. Did they actually take your whatever?
Yeah,
your
I
money
said,
and
will
just
you take this? Yeah, because it was Movie Cash. Movie Cash was is Movie Cash even around anymore?
I can't imagine that it is.
Hmm. And I think it wasn't even like a big box of Cheerios. It was like a 10-ounce box of Cheerios that's worth like a buck and a half at the time.
Right.
And I'm like, whoa, okay, I'll take this.
I think what had happened was it was at the United Artists Theater. And we went in there, and this is one of the really crappy theaters. It had sticky, floors and stuff like that, and it smelled like a sewer practically. But the THX people came in, totally. Not only did they like redo the speakers and everything, but they cleaned up everything. They made the theater look presentable. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe Lucas was like, I'm not going to have my movie seen in a dump, so we're just going to fix up the theater for you.
The theater I saw it in was a Crossroads Cinemas in Bellevue. It was in the THX theater. It was actually, I think it was the first theater either in the state or maybe in the whole country to have Dolby Digital in it. But this was like in '92 when Batman Returns came out.
Batman Returns.
But yeah, they had Dolby Digital. It was like Dolby Digital, THX. This was back in the time when you saw a movie, it was actually on film.
Right.
But again, I went and like as soon as you watch it, it's so different from what you remember Star Wars being.
Right.
It's a little bit of a culture shock or whatever you want to call it, where you're like, okay, well, what is this? I don't even understand what the hell's going on. Trade disputes. Okay.
Yeah, it was for a little bit of a while. This movie almost kind of matches the beats, the action beats, I guess, of the first Star Wars New Hope thing, where we have one action sequence, and then we escape, and then we go down and we plummet into another action sequence, and then we kind of take a break. We go to Tatooine, and we develop some characters, and then we have another action sequence.
Talk about taking a break. George Lucas took his sweet time with this, because you can tell like they're literally within the same scene. You look at Ewan McGregor's hair, it changes. It's a wig, then it's his hair, then it's a wig, then it's his hair.
You think they went back and did reshoots and things like that?
He did a ton, but he did it intentionally. He was like, I'm going to shoot a little bit, see how it cuts together, then I'm going to go back and because George Lucas is a shitty director.
Yeah. Well, when you got a lot of money, I mean, like there's a lot of money on the line. It was a $115 million budget for this movie.
Yeah.
Which I guess was a lot back then.
Well, I think that was every time he'd have money, he'd get divorced. Like that was what happened with Return of the Jedi. Was he had a ton of money, but then he got divorced. Half
gave a bunch.
Half, Eddie.
Well, he gave a bunch to Marsha, and again, she kind of earned it because she edited that first movie. She
fixed that movie. Yeah,
she fixed it with two other people. There was like another edit. The first edit was by. It's available on YouTube. You can see some of the first edits that were coming out, and it wasn't really being cut together very well, and I forget what the name of the guy is, but they got rid of him, brought in 3 people, and each of those 3 people had specific sections they worked on. And Marsha was one of them. Of course,
he also had his...
she does deserve some of that money, but in California, you get...
buddies telling him what he was doing wrong, too. Saying, you got to do this. This is wrong.
Yeah, and what's more, I mean, like, she's complaining at you constantly when you're in the shower, when you're on the can, when you're in bed, and this is what you have to do, George. Just shut up, okay? He just sort of puts it together. I think what Lucas really had going for him mainly was his expertise with photography. He's a very good photographer.
He's a great idea guy.
Also, the combination, the elements of picture and sound. He and Walter Murch, people like that, and Ben Burt would work on sound collages. That's what he did mainly. That was what was really good about THX 1138 was that kind of work.
I would call him a less talented James Cameron. Because James Cameron, his scripts can be a little... but he gets good actors, and they make something from his nothing.
Yeah,
Whereas George Lucas is like, just you know what to do.
Cameron has that about. Oh, there's Natalie. I will not condone a course of action, and her voice is really low.
The slightly British accent. It's kind of going in with the Carrie Fisher thing of like talk British and then don't talk British.
Do you think he did that consciously, thinking about Carrie, her weird British accent?
I think that it was an attempt to sort of
the Imperial Senate will not sue for this. When they've learned you've attacked a diplomat. Don't act
And they
so
also like
surprised.
take her voice down because if you saw in the trailer, her voice is up a little higher.
Well, it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, because
like
it would be
tone
silly.
pitch is a little down.
She has to have like a commanding presence, even though she's a little girl queen, right? So she can't be like, you can't like do this. This is like total embargo, you know? Like, God. I mean, like, I'm queen. I'm totally queen, and I could order your executions.
Well, they got Jake Lloyd going, yippee,
yippee, yippee, woohoo! These things were so cool. I thought they were cool. Yeah, Lucas has another ability. He can make anachronistic dialogue. It's like this thing where, you know, it takes place a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, but he had this ability to what was it? Kind of like, you know how he had the characters, but they were speaking our language, and it wasn't just English. They were speaking in slang and stuff like that, and you understood them. They weren't talking in weird, you know, bad science fiction metaphor or something like that.
I'm just imagining, okay, Jar Jar Binks. He is. They keep saying he's some sort of racist stereo. He kind of is, but it's like
the ability to speak does not make you intelligent. That's a pretty good line. I like that line.
You know, he is. I guess I'm trying to think of like in today's culture, could they create a character like this? There was no internet. There was an internet, but there was barely an internet.
Are you talking about the presumed stereotype?
Yeah,
because it wasn't just Jar Jar. It was also those what is that, Federation trade people?
Trade Federation, yeah. They're supposed to be Asian, I guess.
Because they sound like this or something like that. You know, You want fried rice with that, Queen? But
I feel like maybe it's more like dealing with like Japanese executives, because by this time, like, they were buying up studios.
You know what? If I must, the PC and the liberal, the bleeding heart progressive liberal comes out in me a little bit. I don't like seeing those things. I don't like seeing actors. The one thing that really bugs me is seeing Asian actors who don't sound like that and are being told to sound like that to fill some kind of stereotypical thing. Like I'm thinking of Rosalind Chow when she was in the remake of Freaky Friday with Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan, right? She plays like a woman in a Chinese restaurant or something, but she talk like this, and I'm like, Rosalind Chow doesn't really sound like that. You listen to her watch her on Deep Space Nine, she sounds like a normal person. I don't like when they make, you know, and Mickey Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's is very cringy. I mean, ridiculous. He's ridiculous.
He's not even Asian.
He's not even Asian, but
they just gave him glasses and had him with buck teeth, and it's like, whoa.
But you have to have this stereotype in order to convince people that this person is not, you know, who they actually are. But when you see, but when I see cultural stereotypes being performed by people who are not actually like that, because I've never really known any Asian people like this all the time, unless they're right off the boat.
Character, and I'm thinking of like in Police Academy, wasn't there like a character he was like a Mexican stereotype, but then he was actually like third generation American?
Jesus Christ, you're probably right about that.
Yeah, I was like, and then he's like, the jig was up.
Was he like some hot-blooded dude or something?
Yeah, yeah.
It's so funny because last weekend we were watching Eating Raoul, because Eating Raoul had Buck Henry in it. We were doing
it with Mr. Chakotay, yeah.
Yeah, with Robert Beltran. He's in it, and he's kind of doing this thing, and he even performed some music in the movie, like his own music that he produced and sang on, and he's playing kind of like this hot-blooded Chicano dude, right?
Yeah.
And he's not really like that. He doesn't really carry himself like that. But it's meant to be part of that because it's a ridiculous movie. It's a ridiculous. Yeah. It's an incredible. It's a wonderful movie.
Well, you know, it doesn't treat well-off white people very well either.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
They're eating people.
It's like a slightly more tasteful, yet offensive John Waters. That's what I was thinking about when I think about Eating Raoul. But to see, I don't know. It makes me uncomfortable watching, because I feel like actors, when you get them to do that, they just turn into prostitutes in a way. Now, Ahmed Best, this is his voice though, and he's doing this.
It is.
And so
there's like,
what is he saying? I mean, he's saying, so George, how do you want me to play this?
But you know, you could see like there's footage of like to sort of help with the performance. He just sort of walked around with a big Jar Jar sort of thing on top of his head.
He was following him around, yeah. I mean, and he's fine in the movie, you know. And again, you mentioned this in the Rise of Skywalker episode about, you know, because again, this is a very ugly part of fandom that I don't like, is when you go and single out people and you attack them. But a lot of times, like I said, you're not being attacked personally. It's just a character you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and maybe Ahmed Best got his feelings hurt because actors are extremely sensitive people. Kelly Mary Tran too.
I look at it as like it's an opportunity to like. You can take something that you'll read it and be like, this is a horrible racist stereotype.
I guess it could be.
I'd be like, you know what? This might be a horrible racist stereotype, but I'm making a lot of money off of these rich white fucks.
Yeah.
Fuck you. I'm taking the money.
I don't, even if you
I'm having a better life.
This is my problem. This is my push-pull with the whole idea. What I just told you about stereotype is that I'm really in no position to judge because I'm white. Now, if they did something, the thing is, Richard Pryor made fun of white people all the time. Live in concert. He's like...
And I find it fucking hilarious because it's also
it is
true.
fucking hilarious. It's like... He's like, we were sitting here, dear. Weren't we sitting here, dear? Yes, we were sitting right there. It's like, well, you ain't sitting here now, motherfucker. Hey, we both said at the same time. You owe me a Coke. Jinx. Yeah. Oh, man, that was funny. Okay, so here we are in the Undersea Kingdom for you and for me, and it's fun. Yeah. Now we've got kind of like the Jabba the Hutt dude, right? He's kind of like a fish. He's a fellow fish monster, Jabba the Hutt kind of a dude, and he goes.
Now this is a lot of ideas. Now remember, he was always trying to do sort of a Flash Gordon. This is almost like Flash Gordon plus.
Well, you're looking at it on your Disney service, right?
I am,
and I'm looking at it on the Blu-ray. Now on the Blu-ray, I can tell you this is gorgeous. I mean this is very rich. It looks a lot better, actually. It looks a lot better than the DVD.
I think it's probably coming in at 720p. That'd be my guess on my computer. But I'm on my computer now. If I was to be watching this on my LG 4K OLED, it would be like full 4K HDR Dolby Vision.
Well, are you getting the richness of the background colors?
Oh yeah, I'm getting a lot. But also you got to remember, this was the very early days of digital. So it's like he's doing all this stuff in a computer and then putting it on film and then maybe going back to a computer and then putting it back on film. So
that is gorgeous. That is absolutely gorgeous. One thing that he had really done, which is it's really shocking to me how badly Attack of the Clones looks compared to this. Attack of the Clones has a much more limited color scheme, but this was shot on film. Though
this was shot on film and then put in a computer and then put back on film. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So they had a very an incredibly superior source from which
it probably wasn't just the resolution that messed up Attack of the Clones, like the cameras and the lenses and the computing ability to be able to
Gopherfish.
There's always a bigger fish.
Except it kind of looks like a Muppet. It kind of looks like a Henson creation though, this fish.
You're right, it does.
It's really, there's a lot here to like about the. Like I said, a lot of people hated Phantom Menace. I mean, they were happy when it was released, and then they had a couple of weeks to think about it, and then they decided they didn't like it. And then it developed
had a very medium reaction when I saw it, but in a weird way, it actually was a sort of a psychologically healthy thing for me to go see a Star Wars movie and not have it change my life, and have it just be like another kind of just okay movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, I'm like, I don't have much going on, and this is like, okay, I'm going to re-experience my whole childhood that I've built up in my brain, and then I go to this movie and I'm like, well, it's Star Wars, but I'm like, eh. So it's almost good that I was somewhat disappointed.
I think it did have the spirit of Star Wars in it. It's really funny. I don't think I ever told you this, but I was already married at the time. Was I married at the time? No, I wasn't married at the time yet.
99.
I was engaged. I was going to get married soon. My mother went out to see this movie, and she was a big Star Wars fan. She went out to see this movie by herself. She got bored 30 minutes in and left. She left the theater.
Whoa.
She got bored. She was bored by the movie and just left.
You get to a certain age, you're like, I only have this amount of time left.
I guess,
my dad does that too.
I suppose. How old was she, though? If she was born in 46, this came out in 99, so how old would she have been?
She was in her mid-50s.
Mid-50s, 96 would have been.
Yeah, I'm getting at that age where it's like, I start watching a movie, I'm like, if I'm bored,
I don't know. You know what? It might be just a generational thing.
Theater? No. I paid, well, in this case, it was free, but like, movies are expensive.
Have you ever walked out of a movie, though?
Only because of, I got sick.
Oh,
Not because I didn't like the movie. It was actually Battle Beyond the Stars, Star Wars ripoff. I had like a tummy issue.
So you had to leave because you were.
I had to leave because I had a stomach issue, but then I actually catch it on HBO like about 6 months later.
So I don't think I've ever walked out of a movie. I don't think I've ever done that. I've always tried to give it the benefit of the doubt.
I'm remembering something, but I went back in. It was, and I don't know why I did this because it's actually not a bad movie. Vegas Vacation. Not Vegas Vacation, not Vegas. European Vacation.
Oh, European. Sorry. Oh, okay.
And I was like, but it was more sort of an OCD thing where they had video games in the lobby, and I really just wanted to play like video games. So I just kind of walked out, played video games, and then went back in and finished the movie. It wasn't, but I was also kind of bored because there wasn't much going on in the middle of that.
Of European Vacation?
European Vacation, yeah.
Well, I never got to see that. I only saw the first Vacation on cable. Mm-hmm. And then European Vacation came out the next year. It was directed by Amy Heckerling. We rented it, and I was disappointed by it. I thought
it was a big hit, actually.
Yeah, it was, but I felt it lacked the spark. It lacked Harold Ramis. It really needed Harold Ramis to tie that together.
Hey, it had boobs.
It did have boobs, but
it had like PG-13 boobs, but it had boobs.
Kind of, I guess. Yeah. And also, I think they were going for an R rating originally because they overdubbed Chevy Chase. Because when he's being chased around that roundabout near Big Ben, mm-hmm. he says, "Well, I've told you this before." For some reason, he's mouthing the words, "Oh, fuck it," and they overdub "darn it all" instead. And I was like, "Darn it all."
That's kind of like in Star Wars when they're in the when they're in the trash compactor. It could be worse. If you look at Mark Hamill, it looks like he says, "Oh shit."
That might have been an Easter egg for all we know. He was, because I remember Mark Hamill said he was trying to have fun with Lucas, and Lucas has no sense of humor whatsoever.
Pardon me, George, could that be Dianoga poo-poo? Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like, that would have been so funny if they had kept that in. Oh, shit.
Yeah. You can look at it again when it's
or
first
instead
year,
of like
it could be worse. And then
Harrison Ford saying, "What the hell are you doing?" You could be like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah. By the way, back to the movie here. So now we're in sort of like fake Amidala. We're in sort of like decoy Amidala
territory,
here.
But the thing is, I knew it. You had to have known it too, because it's Keira Knightley. It's Keira Knightley playing this part, and she really doesn't look that much like Natalie Portman. She has a more angular face, and you could tell it.
Well, with the makeup, and you're looking at lasers and swords and everything.
You're trying to like pull a fast one on the audience. It's a big screen, man.
Yeah.
So we're pretending right now, even though we saw Natalie Portman with the makeup on earlier.
Oh, she's there on the left. See.
And then you have Keira Knightley and Natalie Portman showing up, but there's also like this little gag that Lucas threw in where he puts all these duplicates of Natalie Portman all around her, which is brilliant. Actually, when you think about it, it's brilliant to have bodyguards that look just like you, because you don't know who you're going to kill.
And this very much would have been in the days of Saddam Hussein when he actually did that, and we knew it,
Or in the days when Kiss was so popular, they couldn't go anywhere without being mobbed, so they would dress up several different people to be made up like them.
Oh.
But they were in makeup too, again with the kabuki makeup.
I gotta say, there's only one Gene Simmons.
There's only one Gene Simmons, and his name is Gene Simmons, and he has the Kiss credit card. And I'm Gene Simmons from the rock band Kiss. Hey, suddenly I've got my Gene Simmons back. We're watching the epic 1999 film Star Wars: Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Menace.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a good one.
I just sort of pulled that one out of my ass. Sorry for the disgusting image.
Much like George Lucas did with this whole movie.
I wanted to bring something up, since we're in one of the lulls here.
One of the lulls.
Oh, wait, Roger. One of these guys like, okay, wait a minute. Hey, you know, and it's all robot. It's all done in ease.
I want to say this. Even though this movie is, when I finally got this on one of the last laser discs I got was this. And it was but you could only get it as a Japanese import, and it cost me $115, which would probably be close to about $200 today.
Was that like in 2000 money?
It was in 2000 money. So in 2000, in 2000 I got it. It was
boy, they really
just
ripped
got
us
on the internet, and I got it over from this place called SendMeMovies.com. Somehow I heard about it. I don't even know where I heard about it. You just know these things.
Yeah.
And I found them, and I ordered it, and I got it, and I gotta say, that's when I started to really like the movie because it was an audio video spectacular. And I had the full. I could watch it in Dolby Digital because I had the right receiver and everything.
Well, for the time, actually, I mean, like, you remember the days of when we had widescreen CRT TVs, Sony.
I didn't have that. I had a
but
27
they
inch
had these,
Quasar.
and you would have had the ability to see this movie in its true aspect ratio, taking up the whole screen because they were 16:9 televisions.
Well, the
They
problem
cost
with
too much
something like
money,
this is,
so they were off limits.
the problem with the Laserdisc is Laserdisc was always like a 3x4 format. It was never like anamorphic like DVD would become. So you didn't have a picture to have squish and then unsquished. So if you were going to watch it on say like a widescreen tube, much like I have to do now with my Laserdisc stuff, you had to like push the zoom button.
Oh yeah,
and you lose like a
but
few hundred lines of resolution.
They did have the zoom function on those Sony televisions, and it looked really good. I had a friend who had one of those. It cost an arm and a leg, though. I mean, they were very,
and it probably weighed.
and they were heavy as fuck.
Leg.
But they didn't like have what we have now, which is like 50, 60-inch screens. They would top out at the most at
I will say my Phantom Menace Laserdisc looks very
what was it, like 30
presentable
inches
in zoom mode on my 55-inch. But it's like just below. I'd say like it's sort of halfway between VHS and DVD quality, but it leans closer to DVD than
That's
VHS.
what I thought we were going to look at. I thought you were going to look at your Laserdisc, and then we could compare.
I couldn't because you're watching the Blu-ray and I'm watching Disney because there's a slightly longer pod race in these newer versions.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
That's why I'm watching.
That's a shame. I'll have to do comparison shots of Puppet Yoda, which
if we ever get to A New Hope, I think that the Disney Plus version might be like half a second longer because they squeeze in the McClunky.
Oh, McClunky?
McClunky?
What is that?
It's the part when Greedo shoots first and doesn't shoot first, and they even snuck in an extra line where before he gets shot, he goes McClunky. Isn't that good?
What does it mean?
I have no.
Is that like Greedo's language for fuck you?
Fuck you!
Fuck you! Karloff? That's what he was saying. He was saying Karloff. Oh yeah, here we go with the.
Speaking of Karloff,
Palpatine again. This is another fast one that Lucas tries to pull because we knew who the fuck this guy was.
We know who this guy.
We knew who he was. He sounds like him anyway. He's like on a good day. He's like, I'd like some cornflakes, young Skywalker. I mean, he just sounds like the fucking Emperor.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I got to be sure about this. We stayed. We watched the end credits, right? I said, I have to be sure about this because I'm pretty sure that's the Emperor. And then I saw his name. I was like, oh, fuck, it's the Emperor. Of course. What are we, morons, George?
Well, at the end when they go, we wonder who it could be. And then they zoom in on Ian McDiarmid. I'm like, well, of course. Fuck you. I knew it was him.
And plus, he's wearing a cloak. I mean, like, what the fuck, nigga? Sorry.
Well, they talk about Darth Sidious. That's kind of a new thing.
Darth Sidious. And then there was Darth Plagueis. And then there was Darth Vader. You take IN and take it away from a word, then you can have a Darth name, right? So,
I guess.
Insolence. There should be a Darth Solence. Or insurrection. There should be a Darth Erection.
Ooh!
His name was Darth Erection, and he had the ability to control erections.
Well, at my age, maybe I could use some of that.
His costume looks like a little blue pill, Darth Viagra. Sorry about that. Speaking of Viagra, there's my dirty old man is coming out, and there's this really cute scene.
And there's Natalie Portman.
Oh, and there's Jar Jar. How's Yusa? If you're looking at this in closed captioning, he says, how's Yusa?
That's not racist at all. How's Yusa, massa?
Uh-huh. I'm gonna read some of this for you. No. Misa day starting pity okie day with a brisky then boom, getting very scared and grabbing that Jedi and pal Misa here. Misa,
I'm wondering if perhaps some of this was the actor's idea. Because, again, George Lucas, shitty director, he may have said, just be an alien and come up with a language. That might have been his idea to act that way and do create his own language and everything.
Might have been. He'd never own up to it today, but... No. That was George directed me, okay? He said, I want you to be the most disgusting...
I always thought this ship was cool. Always thought this whole because this is
Her ship, okay.
Empire. This is not Empire technology. This is Republic.
That's Amidala's ship, right? It's a Naboo ship, right? So it's very sleek and silver, and it's very clean, and it kind of looks like a birth control device, like one of those copper cross or something, some kind of thing that you put in there.
There's the wipes. Okay.
Oh, we're on. The sun is doing. No matter on Misa's skin, we're on Tatooine. And he's a fish guy, and you think, wouldn't he dry out?
Probably. Remember, it's a kids movie.
It's a kids movie with decapitations and arms and blood everywhere.
See, this was the fundamental mistake of this movie was if you hadn't had Anakin be a kid, if you'd had Anakin be a teenager, it would have worked so much better. And had him be like a teenager, and then be stick with original continuity. Have him be some sort of pilot with anger management issues.
No, make him, please, just make him the same age as Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
What would be so wrong with that? They think that the idea is in Hollywood that girls tend to mature quicker than boys. When a boy matures, it becomes very visible on them. So they think that if they cast an actor who is Natalie's age, he's already going to look too old for her. So then what you should do is get an actor who is maybe 2 years younger than her, something that isn't creepy, because this is kind of creepy. A little bit of it is kind of creepy. And I agree with you. I agree with you that they should have gotten an older part instead of the cute little boy. He wanted a cute little boy. He went full Ewok.
Then make her cute. Make her cute. Make her young. In fact, have them age into it by episode 3.
But then you'd have like a little
6
girl.
6 years later.
And then it would really be an actual little girl. She's, I don't know. Is Natalie legal here in this movie?
She's about 14 or something in this.
So she's 4. Okay, so she is still hands off technically.
But like, what if they were both, say, like 12 by the time you got to episode?
You could get a 12-year-old actor, but the thing is, maybe Lucas didn't want to deal with it because, like you said, he's not really good with actors. He's probably far worse with kids.
He had a plan to, okay, I'm going to do them every 3 years. Have them mature into the worlds. So by the time you get to episode 5 or episode 3, it's 6 years later and they're 18.
Well, okay. Now, do you remember? It might be on your Laserdisc even, but it was definitely on the DVD and it's on this Blu-ray. The Making of Phantom Menace. They did have another Jake, but they fired him for some reason.
Oh.
The kid was much better. He was like a much better actor than Jake Lloyd, but for some reason, Lucas fired him. They don't really give an answer to it, and so
I looked that up. I don't even remember that story.
Maybe he wasn't cute enough or something, but yeah, it's in there. I mean, they tested him. They tested him alongside Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor and people like that. So, maybe he just wasn't cute enough. Jake Lloyd's got this kind of like, it's kind of creepy now because he still looks like that, but he has this kind of like cute chipmunk squirrel cheek thing. I
swear, like working, like it's weird when you see people age. Like Henry Thomas from E.T. is kind of the same way. He's just sort of a mid-late 40s version of what he was in E.T.
Some of them age like that. Others age a little bit better. Like say Michael J. Fox aged a little bit more into adulthood, and he looks less like a kid. Jason Bateman too aged into adulthood, still kind of.
Bateman's looking craggly these days.
But he has that face, and you can never mistake him for anybody else. And then there's Macaulay Culkin, who just looks completely wrong. And then there's Haley Joel Osment, and how he
looked way wrong.
Way wrong. Way wrong.
Whoa.
All right, here now. Is this another tasteless stereotype? This guy here.
Okay, I'll let you decide what ethnicity this guy is because I don't want any trouble.
I would say that he's probably from a bartering culture, which would be Middle Eastern, wouldn't you? No, we don't take your money here. What are you doing over here? Republic credits are no good. I need real money.
I want the money.
He's like remember Blues Brothers with the how much for the little girl. I want to buy your women, the little girl. Sell them to me. Sell me your children.
And I gotta say,
here's the little boy trying to chat up this girl here. She's like way out of his league.
She is. I gotta say though, for a slave, supposedly, he's
Oh, she's so
he's
cute.
doing better than I did. He's hanging out. He's building things.
He knows multiple languages. He's good with tools. He's like a master pilot.
He's doing pod races.
How is he able?
Hanging out.
How is he able to do all that stuff and be a slave? It's kind of weird. The whole thing about the slave thing is it's like some kind of a shock collar that explodes you.
I want to ask you about subtitles here real quick because they're doing subtitles.
Yippee! He said it in basic.
Okay, subtitles. Are you getting the Star Wars font subtitles on your Blu-ray? Because I'm not. I'm getting Disney Plus sort of subtitles. They're not even in the space of the black.
This is not okay. This is not the typical. These are not the typical subtitles that you would see from like Netflix. Netflix has two varieties of subtitles, and then there are other subtitles on other movies and stuff, and there are captions on the cable. This looks like a font that is on the poster.
On the film?
I think it's on the poster.
Okay.
It's the font that's on the poster where it says like written and directed
Because
by
you know what I'm talking about when you would see the films in the theater. It was sort of a Star Wars. There's again. There was a Star Wars sort of font. It was a very sort of plain font across the picture.
Well, for the Blu-ray here, they've dispensed with any subtitles that were in the movie and just integrated them into their subtitle on the Blu-ray. So everything is the same. Everything's uniform.
All right.
It's actually pretty good. Sometimes there are misfires on other things when you're watching, like notably Netflix. They'll skip whole freaking paragraphs sometimes because I guess it's just going by too fast. Now we can talk a little bit about something since we're here. Oh, this asshole! I hate that guy who walks on his hands.
Then there's this asshole.
You pentaputo. So we watched because Terry Jones died. So we watched Life of Brian today, and we watched it on Netflix. I should have really broken out my Blu-ray because the Netflix presentation was kind of messed up looking. It was very grainy. It wasn't as clean as the Blu-ray.
I did too. I watched Holy Grail, but I appreciated the fact that they didn't try to clean it up.
Well, they
didn't.
It was a little bit. It was especially at the end when they're singing the song and you got the wide shot. It's very grainy up in the clouds.
I think I think it's almost like both of us our TVs are almost too good, and we just see we can see the difference between like when they do like a transition, it's always like has to go through an optical printer when they do a transition. So like the transition will look softer and grainier.
It must be Netflix. I think it's Netflix because my Blu-ray is a hell of a lot cleaner than that. And also,
they have to compress the fuck out of it. Yeah.
For some reason, I played on IFC a while back, and that also looked absolutely incredible. But this one was really grainy. Watching it. And there were a couple of scenes in there that were not in the original movie, like the anti-Semitic Jewish group at the end of the movie. Did you see that?
I saw that. Yeah,
they were dressed up in kind of samurai outfits, but they had German helmets on.
They were the Judean people's. It's the Judean People's Front.
And they had these insignia that were Stars of David with little Nazi swastika things around them. And they killed themselves. They stabbed themselves with swords.
They were the Suicide Squad.
Yes, it was really just, oh, wow. You could never make that movie today. Anyway, Terry Jones, as I was saying. And I was thinking about this today because, it's the same joke as what we're talking about with the New Republic. The New Republic and then the Galactic Empire after it. Where they're saying in the movie, what have the Romans ever done for us?
Yeah.
And that's exactly the same kind of concept. This is what I was talking about before about how an evil fascist dictatorship will be far more efficient than anything that good people want to put together as far as government. And we talked about that on the Rise of Skywalker show too.
Yeah. It's a choice. It's a choice.
Now,
and
Anakin
there's always
and Shmi are supposed to be slaves, but they seem to have the run of things. They just can't get too
far.
They're
doing better than the family on Roseanne. They're doing better than a lot of people. They're doing better than the guys on Perfect Strangers.
This kid scrounges up materials and he makes C-3PO. Oh, that was another thing that really pissed off people. Is that Darth Vader made C-3PO?
That's fan service gone haywire of like.
Oh, it's insane. But it sort of makes sense because you remember Anakin's supposed to be really smart and really good and fast pilot, good mechanic.
Well, I guess he fixes it at the end of Revenge of the Sith when he says, "And have them wipe their memory."
Have them wipe their memory. Or do they even
Of course,
wipe?
he would then remember. He would remember, and Babu Frick would be his best friend.
Babu Frick, he's my oldest friend. I thought they only specifically wiped C-3PO's memory, not R2-D2's. Didn't Jimmy Smith say have this protocol droid's memory wiped?
It may have been just him.
But the thing is, R2 can talk to Luke through that translator device on his X-wing fighter, right?
I guess, yeah.
So why doesn't he say, "Hey, Luke, your dad's Darth Vader"? Blah, 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 blah. You know,
it's a kids' movie.
It's a kids' movie. That's going to be your answer for everything.
Well, for Star Wars, yeah. I mean, I want to.
You know what it was? It wasn't a kids' movie for today's kids. It was a kids' movie for late '70s kids, which was you and me.
It just always reminds me of that Richard Jeni routine when he talks about Jaws: The Revenge, and it's like he's like smacking himself. It's like, it's a stupid movie. It's a stupid movie, and that's why.
Yeah. All right, where are we? Oh, Darth Maul. Oh, yeah, he was the first.
Yeah, Darth Maul.
The first letdown of the prequels, because they had like really hyped him. They had marketed him to be the next big bad, and then he gets sliced in half.
It was Ray Park, but it was the voice of Peter Serafinowicz.
Yeah, they had they had an actor that Ray Parks was training, but then I guess Lucas was not impressed with what the actor could do, so he just hired Parks to do it. It's kind of like what Kubrick did with Lee Ermey on Full Metal Jacket. He was there as a technical advisor, and then he was like, you know what, you can say this shit a lot better than you can get them to say.
That's true.
So just go ahead and do it.
Although interestingly enough, in the spoiler on in the Solo movie when he comes back, when Darth Maul comes back,
and he's got robot legs.
It's not the voice of Peter Serafinowicz. It's the voice of the guy. Interestingly enough, his last name is, I think his name is Rich Marquand.
Rich Marquand.
And he came in and he did the voice of, like, he does a lot. He's a voice guy.
Well, what happened to Serafinowicz? Did he die or something?
If I'm not mistaken, he actually said he went in a booth and recorded some stuff.
And they didn't.
And then when he thought he was in it, and then when he went to the movie, they kind of took him and says, "You're not in the movie."
So they basically lost the hard drive with his voice on it. Didn't want to.
Hell, maybe they paid. If he got paid, then that's all.
You still have to pay these people. You know, I mean, it's like filmmaking, very expensive job. Even if you don't make that. Oh God.
Now we're about to get to the point of midichlorians, and he's telling him about the Force, and I'm trying to think, like, I would say that this is the movie. No, wait a minute. I'm misremembering things now. But Liam Neeson, would you say he got the gravitas around Schindler's List? Is the gravitas time, or is it this?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I would say Darkman is actually.
Well, no, he was in a few movies before. I mean, remember, he was in Krull.
Small part.
He was in Excalibur, and then he was in a movie called High Spirits, directed by Neil Jordan, starring Steve Guttenberg and Daryl Hannah.
To cross-promote one of your shows.
And he was in a movie. He was in Husbands and Wives for Woody Allen. He was in Darkman.
Deadpool? The Deadpool?
He was in the Deadpool, that's right. He was in Next of Kin. He was developing a reputation for being a solid, reliable actor at a time when I guess there weren't that many. And then he does Darkman, and then he does Husbands and Wives. And right after Husbands and Wives, I think Woody Allen recommended him to Spielberg. And that's what got him the Schindler's List job. And that was when he got his clout.
By his physical size gives him gravitas, like between the size and the voice, and actually he does have a reputation as being quite well ended.
Yes, I've heard that. My wife told me
the Irish
that.
curse is
my wife said that to me, and I was like, "How the hell do you know? Is there a picture of him somewhere?"
The first time I heard it was when he was doing some sort of stage play or something, and I'm gonna guess, word gets around in the stage community. He does an intern or something, and word gets, he's massive.
He's massive. He's a fine actor. He was an incredible sex symbol too. I mean, like, I've never known any woman to say he was not unattractive. That's
the great thing is, like, he has an interesting look to him.
But also he does this part very well. He's excellent in this.
He is the Alec Guinness. Would you say he was around the level of an Alec Guinness at the time?
I think Alec Guinness was always a respected actor and really not known for his looks, right? Liam Neeson's kind of he's a really good looking big Irish guy, right? So it's a different kind of I wouldn't put Liam Neeson in the Alec Guinness category. I wouldn't even put Ewan McGregor there either, because Alec Guinness, different time, different generation, and these actors, those actors back then were gods practically. I mean, like he was in so many comedies. He was in a movie called Kind Hearts and Coronets, which was, Alec Guinness could do anything too. He's kind of known by our generation mainly for Obi-Wan. Excuse me.
Well, I'm thinking like, he was at the time he would have been like, he's the Bridge on the River Kwai, Lavender Hill Mob, British actors will basically do anything.
Lady Killers.
A
lot of they come over here, and they make movies over here.
That's what Liam Neeson did. I mean, he came to America, and now he cranks out movies.
But he was theater. He was a theater actor. He was like a big commanding blah.
He's always done these sort of. I can't remember the name of the movie that I saw him in just recently, where it was almost like a take on his like sort of Taken character, where he's like going on revenge and he's killing people and things. It's this movie. God, I can't remember the name of it, where he's basically it's Cold Pursuit. Cold Pursuit. You think it's going to be, one of his family, his son is murdered and he goes on revenge, and he does. But it's also this weird dark comedy where they always end up like dying in weird ways. Mm-hmm. And it's really, I think you have HBO. I would recommend that. I'd say Cold Pursuit.
There's also Hannibal in the E-Team reboot.
Oh, yeah.
So, I love it when a plan comes together.
That's another thing where he can be serious, but he can honestly look like he's having fun. In that movie, he's having fun.
He's a fine, he got like Oscar nominations for like Schindler's List and stuff like that. But then he did Nell, and I think Nell is the one that really kind of solidified him in the States anyway. But like I said, these British actors, they come over here. They do a lot of respectable work, right? Your Alan Rickmans and your people like that. They're doing it like, across the pond, as it were. And then they come over here because this is where the money is. This is where you are paid insane amounts of money. And British actors love that system. They love that because
the funny thing is,
they don't get paid
Liam
that
Neeson,
much.
Lately, his movies are all like these sort of international productions, like Taken and everything. It's like a co-French production.
He's doing this Harrison Ford thing now where he's just grabbing people in the street. Give me back my family. Give me back my family.
Take the fucking elephant.
You might fuck the prom queen. Moneypenny.
Now, has he ever played a bad guy?
Yeah. Well, I mean, A Million Ways to Die in the West. Remember Seth MacFarlane's movie?
Well, that's a
he was
comedy.
Charlize Theron's husband. She like knocks him out and puts a daffodil in his ass. So bizarre.
Yeah.
She was like, I put a daffodil in his ass, and he's like, really?
Nasty, mean, like no, not a comedy, not. Oh, look, there's Warwick Davis.
Well, he was an asshole. He was an asshole in the Deadpool. He played that music video director.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Who directs Jim Carrey? Remember?
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, he was shit out of luck.
Is that little Greta over there? It's just the baby over there.
That's the baby.
The baby Greta drinking the new Coke.
Yeah. By the way, I heard there is going to be a Willow series at some point.
Wonderful. Will it be Lucas and Howard, or is Lucas done? Is he retired? Is he over?
Well, he was supposed to be a consultant on the last one when the shit hit the fan.
but nobody called him. He was sitting by the phone.
No, I think he was, but then they didn't.
Oh,
it's
God,
like they could
I
only
hate
do
this
so
when he
much.
numbs his my tongue. It says my tongue. French.
My baby is on the floor. On the floor. Yes. My book.
My bottom lip is on the blow. I hope you're satisfied.
I
hope you're satisfied. My bottom lip is on the blow.
I just showed that to a friend of mine who'd never seen it. She's like older than me, and I'm like, how did you not see this?
Bill Cosby himself.
Bill Cosby. I showed these select bits of like the dentist, and I talked
that
about when
like,
he talked the brain damage.
Strange, off topic here, but the movie was made in 1981. It was shelved, and then it came out, and then it came out on cable, and that's where it really...
It was cable first, then it hit video, and then everybody saw it.
And that's where it got its audience, was on cable. I guess probably because of Richard Pryor.
It was me.
I was trying to start up his little thing here.
Again, he's supposed to be a slave. This ain't no slave. This is the best childhood ever.
Yeah. It's kind of fun. It's a
Why,
fun.
why call him a slave
It's a fun
if that's
slavery.
what you're gonna do?
You know?
He doesn't have to be a slave.
Now there's a personal story attached to Phantom Menace. When Regan was born,
Mm-hmm.
and we took her home. I wanted my wife to sleep. I wanted her to relax, not do anything, not worry about the kid. So I kept the kid with me every night, and every night for roughly, I don't know what, 5-6 weeks. I take her out to the living room, put her on the couch next to me, and we would watch Phantom Menace. That seemed to be the only movie that really kind of calmed her down. Because she would cry a lot, and I would have to feed her, and I would have to get her up and burp her, and she'd have gas all the time. It's like a weird thing. Kids are weird. Kids are gas monsters, let me tell you.
Yeah, so are adults.
Well, I mean, but the thing is, when a kid does it, it's kind of like your cell phone vibrating. They don't.
Well, also,
they don't go.
It might
they
not,
don't go.
it might not
they
just
go.
be a fart. You know, you never know.
It's but this movie actually would put her to sleep, you know, and maybe she'd get up.
It put many people to sleep.
It seemed to be good. Like I recommend that for all.
There's the wig again. There's the wig.
Where's the wig? Oh, he's wearing a wig there. Okay.
I think Liam Neeson was wearing a wig the whole time, and he's talking about midichlorians.
Well,
see, wig. It's too tight.
It looks a little puffy on the top too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neeson is wearing hair extensions. That is his hairline, but he's wearing hair extensions to make it look better.
Actually, I think it's because, and I know these things about baldness. He had the receding hairline, and then I would say a few years after this, he had the transplant.
He had always seemed to have it. It wasn't. It was more noticeable in Schindler's List, I think.
Yeah, that's his real hair. That's his real hairline. And then I'd say like.
But I don't think he had it with Husbands and Wives, so I think he was starting to get a receding hairline in '93.
Yes, he's probably a little wispy here, so that made I think the whole thing is a wig. But you know how wigs go, like they can do a partial, they can put a little bit in here and there.
Okay.
See, this is probably the one time of day when it's not like super hot.
Oh,
because they did shoot this in Tunisia.
Oh, this is Darth Maul and his weird robot.
Although who knows, this could be day for night for all we know.
Well, they've done a lot better these days because you have computers now doing it. Back in the old days, you just you tried to find a place where
there's a band in the background.
There was no sunlight, and then you would in post production after you would process your film, you would lower it, or you would. You would lower an f-stop, and you'd probably put a filter over it that made it look blue mainly, so it was mainly blue for night.
Mm-hmm.
And you get a moon burn, goddammit.
There's one of the girls with the blue, with the one of those dancer things.
Nah. So what are these girls? Are these the power converters from Tashi Station?
Could be.
Because remember.
Oh, they're giving him a massage. Okay.
Remember, Luke had to go and pick up some power converters.
That convert your power, all right.
That'll convert your power. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. What are we looking at? Why is this asshole getting massage? I don't understand. He's such a.
Because he's the best. He's the best pod racer. He always wins.
And we're gonna bet because the Jedi mind trick didn't work on this guy. So
he fucks with the dice.
So he fucks with
I would think that he'd know about him fucking with the dice too.
Actually, it's not dice. It's a chance cube.
Whatever.
Well, they call it a chance cube. It's not dice. I never heard of dice. Well, let fate decide, huh? I just happen to have a chance cube here. Does he have a nipple ring? Was that a nipple ring I just saw?
Let me see.
He had like
I don't see
something. It's on his belly. It looked like an enormous nipple, and we're talking enormous.
Well, he's an alien. Who knows?
The alien nipples. What are you gonna do? Now, what was I saying? Ewan McGregor. I was thinking about Ewan McGregor. Okay, he's a Scottish actor.
Yeah,
and he's playing the part originally played by Alec Guinness, and he's trying a little bit because he's actually a jerk in Phantom Menace. He doesn't really mature until Attack of the Clones, or right after the death. I would say right after he kills Darth Maul at the end of the movie. And he takes young Skywalker under his wing. Does he actually mature? But he's trying to do... Let me finish my point. He's trying to do a Alec Guinness impersonation slightly. He's like a young, pissed-off Alec Guinness type.
Yes. And he's in when he did this. This was been right because they shot this in like '97, late '97 into '98.
He was still doing Danny Boyle movies, right?
Yeah, he was doing. I think he would have come off of Trainspotting, which I think was like '95.
Yeah, it was around that time, and then he did this
well received. Been like Shallow Grave time.
He did
right
this.
After Shallow Grave.
Well, he did this well received. Well, first he did Shallow Grave, which was one of. Got to recommend that for anybody who hasn't seen it. Shallow Grave is one of the greatest movies ever. Seriously.
Oh.
With what's her name? Carrie Davies, I want to say, and Christopher Eccleston and Ewan McGregor all playing these friends, and it's a fucking fantastic movie directed by Danny Boyle. Pretty much Danny Boyle's discovery. After that, he did this well-received bit in an episode of ER where he played a gunman who holds up a convenience store.
Oh, wow, that would have been his first sort of American big break.
Yeah, yeah. And he was in an episode of Tales from the Crypt from the final season that was shot in England.
Oh, okay.
And then after that, he does Trainspotting, and he does another movie for Danny Boyle that I actually saw in the movie theater, and I can't believe I actually watched it in the movie theater. But it was called A Life Less Ordinary, and it wasn't that great with Cameron Diaz. I think
that was his. Yeah, and I heard that was not good.
It was not good. It was trying to be way too hip. Danny Boyle is a very talented filmmaker, but he needs to stay within what he can do. He was trying to be a little too Tarantino-ish with that one.
Didn't it have to do with like angels, and it was almost like
it was like Delroy Lindo and another angel, and they were trying to control these. It was kind of like that fucking Olivia Newton-John, John Travolta movie.
I was gonna say that. Is it just like a remake of Two of a Kind?
Two of a Kind, yeah. Except he like abducts her, and it's like this whole Stockholm syndrome. Hey, let's have sex instead, kind of thing. You remember that Charlie Sheen movie, The Chase? Yeah. Kind of like just people getting abducted and yet falling in love with each other or something like that. Actually happens in real life, anyway. It was just, it was too damn cute for its own good. But he also
the voice of
did he also
Pete fart joke.
Oh, great! There's a shit joke right there.
But the guy, the two-headed guy doing the voice, that's Greg Proops, who you might know from Whose Line Is It Anyway? He was like the resident American on the guy.
Oh, really? Oh, I know that guy.
Is
he the guy with the,
he was the guy
with the glasses? He was the one with the glasses, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You'll know it when you hear it.
And this asshole's a cheater too. On top of that, this guy walks on his hands.
Yeah. This, by the way, this had no subtitles either. When I watched it on Laserdisc, I had no idea what Watto or what this guy was saying or Sebulba was saying.
There were no subtitles on the Laserdisc for this?
No, it's because the Japanese Laserdisc had Japanese subtitles. So even when other aliens would talk and there should be subtitles, it would just be in Japanese.
So you needed a Japanese friend there to translate for you.
I don't have any friends anyway.
What is it? What are they speaking in? Are they speaking in Huttese?
Probably Huttese, yeah.
Tatooine doesn't have any native language. These people seem to be speaking English. There's never any mention of universal translators like there would be on Star Trek. And even then, universal translators kind of confused the hell out of me.
Okay, now here's Jabba the Hutt, and I'm like, this completely, again, ruins...
Oh, and then there's also a female behind him, too, right? And that
Mrs. Hutt.
Is that Mrs., or it could be his sister?
Could be his sister.
I can't believe...
And then right next to
he's a worm.
The other Hutt is, that's George Lucas's daughter, or at least one of them right there.
Yeah, the one with the blue, right?
Hair, yeah.
That's one of his daughters. Or one daughter. I'm not sure. He has... His kid is in it, too. I forget his kid's name. Jed or some weird-ass name.
Yeah.
I think he probably should have stuck with Linda Ronstadt after he got divorced from Marcia, but that's just me.
Oh,
look at how short, look at how small Natalie Portman is.
Oh, she's tiny, and she stayed tiny.
And Liam has to, like, bend all the way down.
He's like 6'5".
It's really funny.
To quote John Cleese, but I'm 6'5".
John Cleese, very tall dude too.
Yes.
I was watching because I got the X-Files. I got the X-Files Blu-ray box set from the UK. It's a fantastic box set. It has all 11 seasons and it's HD. It's been upscaled or whatever. They cleaned it up really well. Mm-hmm. There were always sound issues with the X-Files because David Duchovny stands a full foot taller than Gillian Anderson. So when they had a boom mic, you would hear his audio a lot better than her audio. So they would have to pump up her audio. And consequently, you'd get a lot of hiss when you heard Dana Scully's dialogue when they had to walk. Until later on, maybe in the 7th or 8th season when they had wireless mics.
All right.
It's a gorgeous box set, by the way. I recommend it for anybody out there. $50 for the entire series. When I paid,
wow.
I had to have paid, because I did it one season at a time back when it came out on DVD. I was paying over $100 for each season.
I'm trying to get you to buy that James Bond box set for, I think it's like 80.
Right now it's at, well, the price keeps going up. It goes up and then it goes down. It dropped 16% 2 weeks ago and then went back up another 5%.
Well, but the thing is, you can either get the box set of the James Bond movies you can get, and it's just the Blu-rays, or you can get the one that's like $150, and then that gives you all the Blu-rays and digital code, so you can, like, it makes it easier. You can watch them on your computer. You can.
Does this make sense to you? He couldn't even get the damn thing started, and he's gonna win this fucking race.
Yeah, because it's again, it's a kids movie.
It's a kids movie. Yeah, I'll wait till tax season.
Hey, where I think we're getting into the extra. There's an extra lap. That's what it is. Is like the pod race is a little bit longer because there's an extra lap. I don't know if it was something they couldn't finish in time for the release, or if it's just something he cut.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about, Dave. The race is over on mine. No. Damn it! I tried to scare you.
No.
No, it's over. As a matter of fact, Anakin's dead. This must be a different cut. Oh no, they killed the little boy, but it's a kids movie. I'm gonna do my Will Ferrell. They can't do this on a kids movie. I need more cowbell.
Gotta have more cowbell.
Wait, if you do your walking, I gotta do my Pacino. I wasn't. It's not Al Pacino, but I was thinking about what was it, Billy Madison, where he goes today, Junior. It's a very Al Pacino sounding thing.
Oh, that's the Sand People.
Those assholes. They were hired by who to mess up this race? I don't. Or maybe to make.
No, they keep fucking with their planet. This is what's going to happen. Although that was something that I found interesting. Was it?
Oh, this cute
God, I'm mixing up my. No, it was
There's a Greg Proops there.
In the new movie in Rise of Skywalker, don't they have like Jawas in it, but they're not on Tatooine? Like they're on another planet.
I could have sworn I saw a Jawa.
Yeah,
but I don't know
they
where.
Were doing some Jawas or something.
That doesn't make any sense.
I may be mixing it up in my head with Mandalorian, because Mandalorian, they do go back to Tatooine at some point.
Well, we're not going to know until March, when the DVD or the Blu-ray
comes out March. It'll be 3 months. I think like mid March will be the digital release, and then like end of March will be the Blu-ray. Yeah.
I don't know where we're at right now as far as worldwide grosses, because the movie is continuing to make really good money. It's already
US, it's just going to cross 500, and it's going down, so it might just make Rogue One money, but probably less, because Rogue One was like 530 some. I think if they're lucky, it'll make it to 520.
Yeah, I'm thinking more about the worldwide. Right now, worldwide it's at 1,031,000,000.
Look, it's 1,031,000,000. It might do a 1.1, maybe. It's going down, and in China, it's like, if this had been a hit in China, could have made a lot of money. But China, they got their own thing going on.
Well, it's making its money, though. I mean,
yeah.
I checked the grosses for Phantom Menace. It made 1.027 billion, 552 of that international.
Now, I think that they're because there was a re-release in 2012 in 3D.
Yes.
They may be tacking that on, because I could swear it was like in the 900 and some millions in its original release, which again is a ton of money.
That I do, yeah, I do remember. That was a ton of money for the time, 1999, yeah. Yeah, movies started crossing $1 billion when things just got more expensive. Probably.
I always feel like they should go with number of tickets sold.
What am I going to say? I'm going to think Titanic was probably the first one to do that, right?
Probably. Shit, that thing made $2.1 billion worldwide in 1997-98 dollars. It's probably the biggest grossing movie of all time if you adjust it.
Well, they do talk about Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind.
And now
so when you have
Avengers movies, the
Avengers,
but again,
yeah,
that's 2019 money though.
That's 2019 money, and Avatar still sold more tickets.
Right. Yeah. He has all these setbacks, but he still wins. And don't give me the "it's a kids movie" thing again.
It is.
Well, so the kid gets to win. He gets to win everything. He gets to have a lot of fun, and he gets to be a fun slave.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets to court Natalie Portman. It makes no sense.
Yeah, this is the best childhood ever.
There's those little rat bastards again. No,
and
they're being paid by somebody to mess with this race. Huh?
How is his mom letting him do this?
His mom, I don't know.
My mom wouldn't let me leave the damn house.
Maybe he's just maybe because he's crawling with midi-chlorians. He has the ability to influence people, including his mother.
Yes,
could be that. I will say though, I think Pernilla August is her name, who plays Shmi. She's a fine actor, and she's a complete unknown, at least where we are. Because I never saw her before this movie, but she seemed perfect for the part.
Yeah. They didn't give her much to do. They didn't give her much to do in this.
They don't give her anything. All she does is worry. She basically worries. Yeah. She's like a Jewish mother.
She's there, and in Attack of the Clones, she's there to die.
She's there to die, yeah.
Which, again, talk about slavery. She marries the guy that bought her.
Freed her. He freed her to marry her. It's like, I'll buy you, but you got to marry me. What was his name? Lars. I forgot his name. God, Lars something. I want to say Lars Ulrich, the drummer from Metallica.
Lawrence Fenderston.
Iron Balls McGinty. And he's in a wheelchair, and he doesn't even do anything. He's such a, he gets there, and he's like, oh, well, she was abducted. Life goes on.
Yeah.
I mean, no wonder Anakin's pissed off.
Yeah.
He's still having a problem here. And yet he wins!
Yeah.
This was very well edited, very well put together sequence that doesn't have any music until we get to the final lap, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There it is. This is when the music actually came in, the cue.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I realize the standard actually, do you think that the standard has gone up in recent years of these? Was there some revisionism involved in these prequels and how we look at them now?
For me, I'm like, Again, it was a disappointment, but in a weird way that was like a psychologically healthy thing for me, for it to not be the best. Because if it had been something that blew me away, say I'm trying to think of movies that have blown me away lately, like way later sequels, like say Blade Runner 2049. That blew me away. Like it had been that level of good of like, shit, that was good.
Well, Blade Runner 2049, I think, had the advantage of being respectful and done in such a way that it didn't revise or try to be something. It didn't try to be different in terms of its narrative, and it was respectful to the first movie, and it's something that you can kind of jump right into once you get into the mindset of Blade Runner.
Well, it was extremely well made, which this wasn't.
It wasn't like, I don't know, there was like compare Tron with Tron Legacy, right? Tron Legacy,
yeah.
It's considered like the superior movie, but it has a lot more happening in it than the original Tron had in it.
People actually, Tron Legacy. It's so funny that you bring that up because I was actually literally listening to the music from Tron today.
What, the original Tron? The
original Tron.
The Wendy Carlos score?
The Wendy Carlos, yeah. And I was thinking, because I saw that twice in the theater. And at the time when Tron came out, that was a mind blower for me because it was the first.
I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it on video when it came out, and I could not stop watching it. I watched it over and over again. People
say it was a flop, but it wasn't because it only cost like 20-some million. I think it made like 30-some million dollars.
I think it made its money back, but it wasn't like a colossal hit because
no, it was not. I think they were hoping for
because Disney didn't know how to market their live-action movies. Black Hole didn't do very well either in that way.
I think it probably did about the same, like where it's like it cost a certain amount, but it probably broke even. But then it's all profit after that. It's cable, it's video and everything. Whereas movies now, they need to make almost $1 billion just to break even.
Well, based on what they're spending, yeah. Unless it's a small movie, of course, a lot of small movies make really good money. Jesus, what was I thinking of? There was a movie that was made that made a lot. Oh, it was one of the ones that Freilich talked about, Ready or Not, made for no money, and it made a good amount in the theater. Like it was an enormous hit.
People think like say a movie makes like $40 million, which is kind of puny, but if it only costs $5 million, you got a hit.
But getting back to like Tron and Tron Legacy.
Yeah.
Tron Legacy is there are certain things in there for the Tron audience, but there's obviously a lot of stuff there for the younger people who didn't see that movie.
Well, Tron Legacy, that was one of those ones where
and that movie made a lot of money too. It made over $400 million.
That's the problem of it was again the original Tron like $20-some million budget. Tron Legacy literally like close to $200 million budget, and then the worldwide gross is around 400.
Right.
So it just basically breaks even. Is what it does, because you need to make at least double what you cost to make, because then there's like marketing and everything.
But it was like they obviously had convinced Disney to go ahead and make the sequel, right?
Yeah, but then they almost made a Tron 3, but then at the last minute they pulled the plug and ended up making like another Pirates of the Caribbean movie or something, which was probably the safe bet because that made money.
Yeah.
All those
make money.
Another wig. We're back to the wig.
That's a wig.
That's a wig.
I can see what you're talking about. The hair in the back doesn't quite match.
Yeah. I think maybe the shot from the back is actually his hair. Wait a minute. Okay, now no, that's still a wig.
Oh, this is when he is going to be like, Anakin's free, you're not. So enjoy being a slave. Bye.
Yeah. Don't worry, some man's going to buy you in the marry.
The thing is there a point to keeping Shmi? Because I think that Anakin was the real prize in the whole slave deal. What's Shmi going to do?
You know what I would have done is, if I'm rewriting this movie, because this movie feels like a first draft,
right?
Where you would then go in and then you'd go, okay, this doesn't work, this I like this. Fuck it, have the Jedi break his own rules and free him or something, and there's some sort of like prime directive where he's not supposed to interfere. Have him like take him, and then she dies somehow in that instance. And then if you have an older Anakin, it works better. Although again, he was supposed to be the greatest star pilot in the galaxy when he first knew him.
Right.
And he wasn't, because George Lucas doesn't even understand his own continuity. It's like, I wanted to see that movie. I wanted to see, like, fuck it, have Leonardo DiCaprio come in. It would have been perfect.
DiCaprio.
DiCaprio, that was like, people wanted him post Titanic, but that would
have been interesting, yeah.
But they said, basically, I think they had like a conversation about it. He's like, yeah, he was the Titanic guy, so it would have distracted.
Yeah, it would have been way too distracting
from the film. Yeah.
And Hayden Christensen was really kind of an unknown.
You'd go and do a Danny Boyle movie. You'd go do the beach and get paid $20.
Did you know that Hayden Christensen was in John Carpenter's movie In the Mouth of Madness?
He was?
He was the kid on the bicycle. There's a scene where they're driving at night. Sam Neill sees a kid driving on a bicycle, and that's Hayden Christensen. And then later he is hallucinating.
He would have been, this was midnight. He would have been like 15, 16, something like that.
He was a very young little boy, I guess, in that.
Well, In the Mouth of Madness came out in 96. Yeah. And he was Hayden Christensen. They started filming episode 2. Yeah, he would have been maybe 15, because he started. I think he just turned 20 or something when they started filming in 2000. So you can't do that math. He probably would have been about 15, maybe 14.
Yeah, young man. He was the one with the baseball cards and the spokes of his bike.
I had to go back. I just watched that movie. I didn't even notice.
Yeah, he doesn't have any dialogue. He just passes by and kind of stares at Sam Neill as he's driving. in this weird kind of slow motion-y kind of way.
I really hope somehow through this whole sort of experience of him semi coming back for Star Wars, I hope he gets actual like work and can do stuff.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is, if you're in a movie like this, you'll have a source of income for the rest of your life because you'll be invited to
he probably he probably gave him a
stuff.
small piece, but that money can make you lazy, and although I look, I'm the king of lazy, and if he just wants to just cash his check and live his life, that's great. Never have to work again, that's fine. But I'm just saying, like,
I gotta say, this is a very poignant scene here, where he says goodbye to his mom.
Mm-hmm.
This was in a trailer, actually. They showed this in a trailer. They took this scene and put it in the trailer. It was like, don't look back. Whatever you do, don't look back.
Mm-hmm. Don't look back. You can never look back. I knew what love was. What did I know?
And this guy is going to crush somebody's throat because he's so angry later.
Mm-hmm. And he should be. Now, are we talking about Jake Lloyd? Because he has some issues.
No. I'm not talking about Jake Lloyd. I was just talking about Darth Vader. But
because people, you want to know more about this, go to your local library and find out. He's not doing well.
Had he had a rocky time, child actor?
I think he's schizophrenic.
Really? No.
I think he just completely lost his shit. Yeah, he's not
Poor
well
kid,
in the head.
And the thing is, I understand. I do understand. Because, especially if you're a child actor, everybody fawns over you and everybody loves you, and then you get to be a certain age, you can't get work anymore. And
I don't think that can give you actual mental illness.
But you take up let's say you take up drinking because you can't deal with the fame, and then you can deal, and then you're old enough to deal with the fame, and nobody cares about you anymore. Yeah, and that can seriously
what being
fuck
a regular
with your
person is like. Nobody gives a shit.
I mean, he probably still gets nice residual checks anyway.
I hope so.
I mean, he's not making as much money as Ray Parks. Doesn't it look like he fell off the cliff? I mean, every time I see that scene where he just sort of drops, I feel like they should have.
Isn't there like a making of thing where they kind of show it and he's hanging on a wire or something?
Oh, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I feel bad for him because this is what 150 degrees, and he has to wear all that makeup.
Where the hell were they? Where did they shoot?
Tunisia.
Oh, so they did shoot in Tunisia again.
They went back.
Yeah, because that's where they shot Life of Brian. Goes back to Life of Brian. They shot that there. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it looked like the location.
Now we're back to his regular hair.
When he's on that thing and he drops and he does that sheer drop, but it's like a controlled drop. Somebody should have added a little effect to it.
There we go.
Oh, I like it. I like his lightsaber a lot. I have a Darth Maul action figure. And it's got the double lightsaber thing. Right now I've got Rey. Rey is holding up my microphone cord here. And I have the lightsaber that she has here. You should see. Did I show you the Daisy Ridley hot toy?
No, you didn't.
My God. It is creepy how much it looks like Daisy Ridley. Except these things are crazy expensive. This is Star Wars Hot Toys dolls that they have. And I don't know what they did. They must have done some kind of 3D rendering based on scanning of the faces.
Oh yeah, when you do movies now, they pretty much own you.
Well, that's what Carrie Fisher said.
You.
Carrie Fisher said she signed away our likeness.
Yeah, and you do. And by the way, that guy on the left, that actor, he does show up in episode 3 at the funeral for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, that's the guy with the beard, right?
Yeah.
These are the now everybody was asking the question back then. I don't understand, if they have these droids, why do we need stormtroopers? And then I guess they kind of answer the question. They're a little too dependent on their technology or something. And if you can get through their defenses and turn off that power, their power, you can just completely destroy an army.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Natalie again, pretending to not be the queen. I guess she's the queen when she's wearing her makeup.
Mm-hmm.
And she also plays bass and lead guitar. This is Gene Simmons of the rock group Kiss. I just wanted to let you know that we are suing George Lucas for the use of our makeup on the queen. Thank you.
Every Star Wars character is going to have their own individual album,
Solo albums.
solo album.
And they'll outsell mine, and I won't admit it. The Queen is worried. Her people are suffering, dying. Come on, you're talking about yourself, sweetie. You're not talking about the Queen. She's not talking about Keira Knightley.
Well, Gene Simmons, talk about Gene Simmons in the third person.
Gene Simmons prefers to talk about himself as though he's not.
That's the thing, and he gives it to her, and then she's buried in it.
Yeah. It's sad. Like I said, that the last 20 minutes of Revenge of the Sith are brilliant because of all of that. I don't know about the choking thing. And then dying of a broken heart, but otherwise, she gets buried. It's the
very puny birth.
And my wife was the one who pointed it out because she's kind of like the Shakespeare expert here. But Amidala's funeral and the way she's buried is identical to a painting. It was shot to be based on this painting, The Death of Ophelia from Hamlet. Because she's buried. She's lying there with her hair out and all these flowers in her hair that they put in there.
Oh, by the way, Coruscant, I believe, was actually not an original George Lucas idea. It was, believe it was from a book. Maybe it was in Timothy Zahn. And he took this from something else.
I think you might be right about that. I did read the books, and I remember reading about Coruscant.
Unless he gave him that. Unless he said, yeah, there's this planet and it's called Coruscant. Maybe he gave it to him. Because at that time he wasn't even making movies. He's like, this is the planet. This is the.
He wasn't thinking about this. Okay, this is interesting because according to John Williams, he was, because my liner notes of a soundtrack, I think it was they did an adaptation of Empire Strikes Back, and it wasn't the official motion picture soundtrack. They took John Williams' music, they rearranged it. And recorded a very nice DVD, or not a CD, compact disc. And he writes in the liner notes that Lucas was going to start working on the new trilogy in 1987. That he was actually going to start doing it in 87, and he didn't.
I have a memory. I have a memory from mid-91. And it was from all places like CNBC. When they used to have the ticker and everything, in early 90s, I think it was 91. I remember specifically just some money guy was talking about, how you should invest in Lucasfilm or LucasArts at the time or something, because George Lucas was going to work on a couple things. Like he almost said it like Lucas had made an announcement. Remember, there was no internet at this time, so I have no idea if this could have been confirmed, but he said, invest in this because Lucas, he's working on a couple things, which at the time was, I think, like would eventually become Red Tails.
Yeah,
I think he was trying to get that thing
Radioland Murders.
Yeah, and it was like he was going to work on a couple things, and then he was going to go right into Star Wars or something like that.
Well, there was, LucasArts was already. I mean, it was all part of ILM, Skywalker Sound, THX. He was doing incredible things that weren't even Star Wars related at the time. They were doing. They were like one of the pioneers of video games for computer before PlayStation became a really big thing, and then all the Nintendo stuff, Nintendo 64. They were doing incredible things with video game technology. I think a lot of their crew went over to Pixar, didn't they?
Yeah, basically he spun off Pixar into its own company, and then it would, of course, be bought by Disney.
Right. He did quite a lot. The guy's an innovator. I mean, it doesn't even matter what he's doing. But he was rather lucky with the first Star Wars. I think he was able to build on the accidental success of Star Wars.
Well, and then just the stupidity of the studio basically signing most of it back over to him.
What you mean, the merchandising?
Merchandising everything, like when
he said, he didn't even have action figures in mind. He was like, "Can I keep the merchandising? I want to make some coffee mugs. I want to make an R2D2 coffee mug." And they're like, "Okay, fine, yeah," but no.
I'll give you an idea of like, okay, he pretty much he didn't really own like A New Hope, but he did own Empire and Jedi pretty much, and because I remember when they popped up on cable again, like in the early 90s, all they showed was Empire and Jedi a lot.
Right.
They didn't show the original Star Wars because it was probably a separate side deal that Fox had with like a whole bunch of different things. But I remember because they showed them a ton in like the early, like I remember 92, late 92, they showed Empire and Jedi a lot. I remember.
Right.
Just because George Lucas, ka-ching.
Yeah, they showed Empire and Jedi a lot. They didn't show the first movie, though, New Hope, that much. At all.
Although, interestingly enough, when the special edition came out, that would have been 97. In early 98, they showed that on Showtime for like a couple of months. I remember. It was like early 98. They showed it on Showtime a lot for like a couple of months. Just that, not the special edition of the other two. I found that interesting.
I had only remembered that Jedi had its premiere in 1985 or 1986. Not sure about that, but they did show Empire and Jedi, but not A New Hope. And they would just show it like that, and they would have it on the schedule as being Empire and Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And this was back when cable was really good.
In my day.
Here we have this is the special effect Yoda rather than the
yeah, this is CG. I'm getting CG Yoda too. Yeah,
and the puppet is on the DVD and on your Laserdisc.
On my Laserdisc,
not quite as good. Probably just because
I would
of
say
the way
I
it was
prefer
lit.
this. I prefer this somewhat CG Yoda to the puppet Yoda because it looks closer.
For this movie, I would agree with you where he is being photographed because of it. Now, the superior Yoda is in Empire.
Yeah.
In Empire, he is so firmly integrated into the environment that he looks alive. He looks completely alive there. Again,
it has to do with the director of like, they know where to cut stuff. It's kind of like with Jaws, it's like, exactly where to cut it. So it like 1 second more, it's going to look weird.
Did you see, there is some footage in Jaws. There's some footage out there that's around on YouTube of the Alex Kintner death. There were extra shots that were cut out, that Spielberg cut out. Spielberg only wanted to give the indication or the feeling that there was a shark there, right? But the way they shot it originally, they had the shark just completely come up and grab Alex Kintner. You can find it. You can find the footage, and you can find some really good photographs. But of course, it would have been way too intense. Probably would have given the film an R rating right there.
Oh, by the way, here we are in an impeachment hearing here. Basically, vote of no confidence. Which can we legally do that in our? Can we do a no confidence vote? Because that'd be perfect.
We don't do it here. They do it in the UK.
Yeah. Order. There's Terrence Stamp.
Can I just say?
He's kind of.
If you ever wanted a reason to hate Jar Jar, you can hate him. He's the one who gave the power to Palpatine.
He did.
He was the one. Yeah, but he only did that because he's an idiot, though.
Yeah, he's a useful idiot.
We voted to give to Palpatine all the power.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like it is his fault, but he was basically advised by Amidala to do that.
Yes.
I don't know why. Yeah,
again,
Jar Jar's like the
dark side of the Force. But there's like the. Oh, there's Reese.
Is that really Reese or just people from? Because Reese is a bounty hunter, man.
But there's Terrence Stamp kind of coming off of. I'm thinking like General Zod. He's not General Zod, and he's. You know what I'm thinking? Like he probably did this. And
Terrence Stamp, he was hot when he was Zod in Superman, but. Yeah. He kind of disappeared, went back to his own place, but then he did a movie called Adventures Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, which was the big hit. Would have been post Priscilla, and he came back.
I think he probably went from this right into the Limey.
The Limey,
which by the way, people need to see that movie. It's a great movie.
Yeah. That's Soderbergh, right?
Soderbergh. Not only is it's like older Terrence Stamp, and then they use like flashbacks of like some other movie that he made in the 70s or something, where he's like young Terrence Stamp.
Yeah. So this was during his resurgence. He he's Valorum, right? Stamp.
Yes. And he actually has
kneel before Zod. 1 before Zod. 2 before Zod. 3 before Zod.
He has a cameo in another movie as his character from the Limey. He's like on a plane or something for like 2 seconds. I can't remember the name of the movie. It's another Soderbergh movie.
Damn it. Damn it.
You know what I'm talking about? I think it's. Could it be Out of Sight?
Yeah, I believe he was in Out of Sight. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a movie where they also use the Michael Keaton character from Jackie Brown.
Yes.
I think
the Michael Keaton. Yeah. They will not go along with you.
I always like that there's a little sort of musical bit where they kind of take from, I can't remember the name of the piece of music, but it goes can't remember the name of the piece of music. I think it's also used in like the Days of Heaven or something.
Oh, you're talking about, oh yeah, that was God.
It's a classical piece of music that's known for he sneaks it in. There's Yoda.
You mean that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot who did it though, because they had this. There was a show on HBO that we used to show Regan when she was a very little baby called Classical Baby, and it was classical music pieces with art, and the art would come alive in these animations. It's a very well done show.
That's good. That's a good idea.
It was a great idea. She loved watching it. She's very much into art now because of it, I think. Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
For some reason that works better as with the puppet. Like it's stuck in my head that the puppet says it and not this. Because when he says suffering, the whole face and head moves.
There's a lot more like I guess what you can do with the visual effects. There, you can create emotion within. It's hard to do that with a puppet. And like what you said before, Kirsch knew where to cut, and he also knew how to light, how he was lighting it.
He also knew how to direct.
Well, yeah, but we don't talk about that. And also, I mean, like working. I mean, Frank Oz said that Irving Kershner was a pain in the ass to deal with because he was constantly criticizing his performance as Yoda.
But you have to look if you need to direct. You need to be an asshole.
Well, you have to be, and Frank Oz became a director,
and became an asshole from what I've heard as a director. You learn from the best. I remember there was somebody wrote like a negative review of his movie. I think Indian in the Cupboard, and he wrote them like the biggest fuck you letter in the history of it. And it was like you have to just imagine like him writing, "You cocksucking motherfucker."
That's a pretty good Frank Oz.
You could suck a dick.
It would be better if it were in a Yoda voice. Suck a dick, you can.
Suck a dick, you could. Yeah.
Well, there's our.
I mean, he did very much enjoy being Miss Piggy. So who knows? Who knows who sucked a dick? Who knows?
Frank Oz, very talented director. He
yes,
did,
please, Frank Oz, please. I'm sorry, I love you.
He did Little Shop of Horrors, a favorite of mine. What about Bob? And
I'm sailing.
A couple of underrated classics that are brilliant. One is Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Oh,
and the other one,
Mr. Stinson.
And the other one is Bowfinger.
Yes.
Ooh. You know what's interesting about Little Shop of Horrors? I read that Martin Scorsese was actually attached to direct that, but backed out at the time.
Would have been Joe Pesci, and it would have cost $140 million.
I think he was going to come on at Corman's suggestion because he did work for Corman. But then I guess
what was Scorsese doing in those? That would have been around.
That would have been around the time of After Hours and The Color of Money and trying to get Last Temptation made.
Yeah, that's it. I didn't feel like a good fit to me.
Probably not.
Although he did do, he does. God, I'm trying to think of that. What's the one? Hugo. He did Hugo.
Yeah, he did Hugo. He did New York, New York, and he directed the Michael Jackson Bad video. Remember? So he does have experience with musicals.
Yeah.
It's just this one would have probably been a lot darker in tone.
Mm-hmm. Well, remember with Little Shop, I mean they changed it. Did end on a darker tone, and then they changed it.
They changed it to make it upbeat because it was a musical, but the original movie was kind of darker in tone, but it was tongue-in-cheek because he just fed himself to Audrey, and he was there inside the plant.
Can you even get that alternate ending anymore? I remember when it first came out on DVD, they pulled it like within a week, because it had that alternate. It was like a work print in black
Are
and
you
white.
talking about the remake, right?
No, Little Shop of Horrors. The remake where it had like
This
the
alien
original
invasion,
ending, where
plant alien invasion.
the alien invasion. It was all black and white. Yeah, and it was like a black and white work print where you saw it, and then they pulled that after like a week.
I don't
because
see
I guess
any reason why you shouldn't be able to put that in somewhere. You know, just clean it up and do. You know, I mean, I know
it literally might have been a music clearance because it was a different song. So it may have been just a music clearance issue.
It
or
might
something.
have been a rights issue, I guess. There's so many great opportunities there, especially if you want to get some kind of like an education in film, and why they choose to cut certain things and why they do certain things. You know, you can find a lot of great stuff on YouTube. Like I said, that original cut of Star Wars and how the pacing was all wrong and would have killed the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there were two bits in there. One was the ending, of course, with the destruction of the Death Star, and then there was this initial I put it in the show that we did where we were talking about the documentary that Jamie Benning made, of which this is an offshoot. This is kind of an offshoot because I'm going to put my own little factoids in there, throw them in as we're talking.
Oh, okay, good.
In fact, here's a factoid now. Isn't that fucked up? Do you believe that?
Yeah.
They actually thought of using Bill Cosby instead of Harrison Ford.
Down, see, Jello pudding, and I got the Millennium Falcon, and I've got this big Chewbacca guy. I don't know what he's doing. He's hairy.
That was he's hairy. That was one of the pieces of dialogue that was cut out at Marsh's insistence. But in that documentary, he shows some of the original edit of the conversation between Luke, Obi-Wan, Han Solo, and Chewbacca when they're trying to work out some kind of a deal to get the Falcon to take them to Alderaan. And it's completely wrong. It's too slow. Too many reaction shots. And I was thinking about this today. I was thinking when I was doing my Picard review, I was thinking what should be done. How you should write today is write whatever you're going to write, take a step back, then look at what you can cut. Because it seemed to me one of the problems with Picard was it was a little too slow. I felt like there wasn't much going on. There was a couple of things that went nowhere, that were unnecessary, that you could have cut out, and you could have told the same story and just economized in how you were going to do it. That's what I was thinking about. That was just one of my issues with Picard, is that there are a couple of scenes in there that are unnecessary, that don't need to be there.
Well, we have no idea because they're like that's very much of a world building. Maybe it needs those extra scenes.
We didn't need to.
The only problem is we
didn't need to have the girl rush off and then go back and talk to her mom and then go back. We didn't really need that. She could have.
Well, yeah, we did because we needed it because it was basically. It turns out it was a fake. It was a way to get her there. So I don't know exactly.
It's a little clumsy. I mean, like with another rewrite, or just like I said, take a step back and reapproach it and try to figure out how to compress it a little bit. That's all.
Okay. Now this is Natalie Portman, and she's in the thing now. She's in the. That is Natalie Portman in the makeup.
I can't.
We'll go back. That's her.
Yeah, that's her. Obviously. You can tell. She's not Keira Knightley. It's interesting that they would. Keira Knightley was kind of like just. I don't even think she was doing any professional acting yet. She just happened to be there or something.
They shot this one in England. They shot the other two in Australia, which is why in episode 2 you have Rose Byrne. In episode 2,
playing
somebody,
the bodyguard again.
Playing her body double or something. Yeah.
Were all these girls around the same age at the time?
I'm gonna guess, yeah. Okay, we're back to his wig.
But again, they don't really look alike. You know, I can see there's a little bit of a similarity between Keira Knightley and Natalie Portman in the eyes, but definitely not in the cheekbones or facial structure or the nose. Rose Byrne, I don't know if she even has any kind of a resemblance to Natalie Portman.
Well, you'll see. Again, this is obviously a wig.
It was, I gotta say, I was deeply, deeply moved to hear them all talking to Rey at the end of Rise of Skywalker. That was one of the greatest moments I've ever seen in a Star Wars movie.
The only reason it didn't have quite the impact was I was really hoping that it would just be like they would literally all show up as Force ghosts.
I just, you know what, I'm still thinking of what you said. because I put the clip of the crying woman from Jedi, and then I put Kevin Smith crying, and then we cut to you right away saying, I did not cry once at this movie.
I didn't. I swear I get more misty at the end of Rogue One because it's like just an emotional moment because it's such a perfect Star Wars between the Darth Vader doing his Darth Vader thing in the most awesome way, and then the very end with Carrie Fisher. Even though it's somewhat clunkily done, it hit me. So that probably hits me more on an emotional level.
Okay, now this is actually a pretty good scene. There's some moments of brilliance here that I never considered at a time I was younger. We were younger, of course. This was
we're back
20 years ago.
We're back to Keira Knightley
now. This is Keira
now.
Knightley, and she's pretending to be the queen, and then Natalie comes out, and
then she's right behind her, yeah.
And he says, "No, I'm the queen. No, I'm the queen. No, I'm Brian. No, I'm Spartacus."
No, me Claudius. No, me Claudius.
So, as you can see, it's basically just the eye area that's very distinctive with Natalie and Keira there. But there's some really good moments in here. These two cultures, and Liam says it early on in the beginning. He says you have a symbiotic relationship with these people. You should get to know them and get together and fight. And they do. And I kind of like this. The only thing that I don't like is that these are, fish monsters. It's kind of a goofy race. These people are serious. And they're talking to, like, some fish monsters. But she actually makes this great appeal. And she gets on her knees. And she tells everybody, get on your knees, get on your knees. So everybody has to get on their knees. But
now I do wonder, like, was Brian Blessed actually there, standing there, being all Brian Blessedy?
The big fat guy here?
Big fat guy, yeah.
Brian Blessed from Blackadder, right?
Blackadder and Flash Gordon.
Yes.
The
Hawkman. Yes, he was the Hawkman. He's a slag. We was thinking you was better than us.
Yeah.
It is a little Cosby. Liam is like, what the fuck am I talking to? He has no clue. He's thinking you're so greater than the Gungans?
He doesn't care. He's probably got points.
Points are the whole thing.
Oh, man. A piece of it, because this was a guaranteed, whether it was good or bad, and it was leaned towards bad, it was going to make a ton of money.
I mean, like, maybe it's, I don't know. I don't think in 99 it was as sure a thing as it is today.
Oh my God, the hype on this was ridiculous.
Oh yeah, the hype was, but the thing is, you could be like, oh, I can't wait to see this, can't wait to see this, yes.
But it is funny though. It opened. I mean, it must have been relatively popular amongst the masses because it opens at 60 some, ends up making like 400 and some. I think it had to do with the fact of like it like had waves where it was like, first it opened huge for the time, right, and because people wanted to see it. But then you got the audience was like, we're going to wait for the crowds. Like, knowing that there were crowds, people were going to, I'm going to wait for the crowds to die down.
Well, so
you get that second and third wave of people that wanted to wait.
This is the whole problem with the franchise is that you're going to get your hardcore fans first weekend, right? But then you have to be good enough to bring in people who aren't fans. Obviously, this movie brought in a lot of people who weren't fans.
Played the whole summer.
And it did, yeah. And I saw it more than a few times in different theaters.
I saw it twice. I told you I saw it twice. I saw the original, and then there was some sort of like a charity thing, like I think like around the end of the year, and I'm like, I'll go again.
It's for a worthy cause. It was the Free the Bantha charity or something.
Free Bill Cosby.
Don't say that. There's a black guy on the screen right now. Don't say that.
Oh, I got me with my brother.
I like that guy though. We don't know anything about him.
He wasn't in any of the other ones though.
But he's pretty cool. This is one of those things where it's obvious that if you're an occupying force, the people that you're occupying know their land better than you do. So, and she leads this as well, and she is a completely different person here than she is in Clones or Sith. It's kind of like what happened to Carrie Fisher's character in Jedi. I don't know what happened to her, but she was like incredibly brave. Well, she's brave in Clones too, but she does.
Yeah, she kicks ass at the end. Yeah.
In that arena sequence, yeah, definitely.
in episode 3, I think she gets a pass.
But you got to remember, she's like 14 years old here, and she's wielding a blaster around and kicking ass.
Well, look, I mean, she's already hung out with Gary Oldman in The Professional and Leon and everything.
Yeah,
kicked his ass.
But that was like that was the movie that launched her. Actually, that one.
Mm-hmm.
The Professional. We just called it when it was released. Here in the United States, they just called it The Professional. But then they changed. They called title.
I think they called it Leon over there. They called it Professional over here. Now it's like Leon the Professional.
Yeah, and it's going to confuse people, and I know why, because John Huston made a movie called The Professional. I guess maybe they didn't want to, but God, that was such a good movie. That was such a good movie.
But you got to see the Leon version and not the cut up American version, I would guess.
But there's I don't know. I only saw the Columbia TriStar video version of it.
Well, you know what? That's because Leon is a longer version. Like they trimmed it for the American release. It's a trimmed version. By the way, I gotta say, like the Laserdisc, the sound was so good on this.
Oh, really?
This was like a speaker destroyer.
Is this like more of that kind of thing? I always hear about this, about how Laserdisc sound was superior to what the Blu-ray sound is, because it was like lossless, right?
This one, no, actually, it was. Here's the thing. The Laserdisc, it had this weird thing where it had a PCM mix. It had like a stereo surround mix, but it seemed very different from the mix that I got on the Dolby Digital track, which was the 5.1. But the 5.1, I don't know, something about that.
You remember, just to interrupt for a sec, this was the first teaser trailer had this.
Yes, I remember.
Right. Okay, go on.
I remember the hype. Okay, so it had a Dolby Digital 5.1 surround soundtrack, and I had all the setup so I could do it off the Laserdisc. Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, it still sounds. I don't know. I think it's the mix. It's not necessarily because it's just it's compressed Dolby Digital 5.1 at I think like I think it came in like 380 kilobits per second or something. I mean, DVD is like 4 or something. It's like a DVD would have more bits.
Right.
But for some reason, the actual mix itself is like a special THX. I don't know if it's a home mix or a theatrical mix, but it's so dynamic and loud. Maybe the audio level is set higher. But man, you crank this thing up, you will kill your speakers.
There is the only thing I can speak to as far as sound is when you're watching it in the theater has more of a pop and crunch to it. Have you noticed that? Theater sound has a more of a pop crunch sound.
It's a more of a direct. Yeah, we'll see when you go to the theater.
It kind of feels like it punches you in the chest when you're watching it in the theater.
Yeah, they basically like home speakers, even the best ones. When you go to a movie theater, they're almost like PA speakers. They're like these big rock concert level size speakers. Especially
there are different things going on. Especially when we watched Rise of Skywalker, you could hear little weird sound effects coming from, let's say, let me see, need to get my spatial orientation right, coming from the right side. Definitely some kind of weird kind of rattling, shaking, glistening jewelry in a bag sound that you can hear on the right side.
Well, see, I'm very much set up like that. I mean, I could even have more speakers, but I have 3 in the front, I got 2 on the side, and I got 2 kind of above me, so I can have like the Dolby Atmos experience.
See, I don't have that. What I have I have 2 big speakers on the left and right, and then 2 little speakers on top of the big speakers on the left and right, but they're all in front.
Yeah, that's not.
I can't
you're
really
set up.
Set up my. Maybe I could if I really wanted to.
You know what? I can.
But these are excellent
let
speakers.
Me tell you
I'm
something.
Getting like really great sound. This is I have it like configured to do the Blu-ray pretty well. And it is a surround system, but I don't really indulge in the surround.
I can hook you up. I mean, I'm always looking for, even though I don't need one, I'm always looking at receivers, and I'm always thinking, man, I got to tell somebody about a good deal. I mean, you can get a good cheap receiver that give you like full Dolby Atmos. We're talking like 5 speakers around.
I have no problem with my Onkyo. It's a nice setup.
You can get it is an Onkyo, and you can literally get it for like $220 delivered. And have 5 speakers around and 2 above. It has like 80 watts per channel. The only problem is then you got to start getting speakers and subwoofers,
well, I'll tell you,
and you got to find a place to put them.
There is something that is ridiculously simplistic about a really good setup as far as good sound. Wood, solid wood is really good. But I have my media center. I got is solid wood. It's made from solid wood. It's not
Now,
made from MDF, so I have really good bounce with wood.
You know what I would suggest? Here's what I would suggest. I would suggest you get a sound bar, because then you're not messing around with a receiver or anything. And they have like these Dolby Atmos sound bars where it's like it has like 3 speakers kind of
Can you run it through HDMI?
lined up, and then it'll have like 2 speakers going up, aiming up for the Atmos, and then you have a couple small speakers you can just sort of put in the back of your room, and then there'll be like a sub you can put somewhere.
Okay.
It's very economical use of the space, the limited amount of space you have, and it can give you a very good like effect. But I have a problem in where I'm at.
Well, you have everything running through your HDMI though?
Yes.
So you have the player going via HDMI into your receiver, and then speaker wire going
in the receiver,
out.
and the receiver goes into the TV. Yeah. I have let's see what I can look at it right now. I got the Blu-ray 4K Blu-ray player. I got the little Roku add-on thing. I got a VHS, and that's just going through like regular audio video cables.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute.
All that goes in to both the TV and then the thing, of course, the receiver, like just the speakers.
Here we go.
Oh.
Duel of the Fates, which apparently
Duel of the Fates.
Was that supposed to have been the original title for episode 9, Duel of the Fates?
You know what? That whole story
that would have been an awesome title.
It's been confirmed by Colin Trevorrow that was the script. Like that leaked script, that was his script.
And it was called Duel of the Fates?
It might have been a first draft, but that was his script. He confirmed it. I don't know if it was called Duel of the Fates, but he did confirm that actually was the script, that leaked script. And
all the YouTube channels keep calling it Duel of the Fates. But Duel of the Fates would have been an awesome title.
That would have been had to be rewritten too, because it's got some weirdness in it. And this is like revisionist history of like saying this would be so much better. Would it? Would it?
I don't know. I haven't really given any thought. I haven't looked at those videos, so I don't really know. You had put some theories forth on the show where you talked about how none of this involved the Emperor or something, right?
Yeah, his original idea had the only thing he involved the Emperor was it was going to be some sort of like a hologram of the Emperor talking about if I die, go to this planet or something like that. But there was going to be like a small Emperor cameo, but that was it.
Okay.
He wasn't going to be involved, and then he was going to meet Kylo Ren was going to meet some other like dark Jedi guy who was going to melt his face with dark Jedi energy.
He's going to melt his face? You mean like...
He's going to melt his face very much like the Emperor.
Like what Mace Windu did?
Yeah. And it was going to be very much... He's going to have this really fucked up melted kind of face thing. And yeah. I mean, I don't know if you want the spoilers on that. I barely remember, but...
this is fantastic. This is like... They took... Okay. You had... Okay, in A New Hope, you had like a kind of a perfunctory lightsaber battle between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, and it didn't have these kind of acrobatics. But then you get into Empire, and suddenly Luke's doing cartwheels, and he's running around a lot. And then in Jedi, it's like Luke is completely martial arts. He's doing martial arts.
And not only that, it's the double-sided lightsaber.
Yeah.
Or first he goes, and then the other side, and you're like, fuck. But they'd already shown that in the trailer, so you already knew it was coming.
And then here you have this full-on incredible aerial acrobatics with lightsabers. And the lightsaber battles just get bigger and bigger. And there's only one in Clones, I think, the one with Christopher Lee, right?
Yeah, and it's not even Christopher Lee.
They did this thing. They
digitally put his head on.
Okay, remember what they did?
Man,
we talked about Tron Legacy and how they did Jeff Bridges. That's how they did. Basically, it was a very rough version of what they did in Tron Legacy. Mm-hmm. But it's weird because in Tron Legacy, he's got this bobbleheaded thing going on, which is really creepy.
Yeah, they still can't quite get. I mean, obviously, when we watch Rogue One, they still can't quite, and they really couldn't get it in Rise of Skywalker, where they have that flashback of like Luke and Leia. That really didn't work.
In Rogue One, they did a better job with Peter Cushing than they did with Carrie Fisher. Carrie Fisher just...
But even then, when you watch the Peter Cushing, it's like you can still tell. I mean, they did a great job with it, but you can still tell it's like something's computery.
But they did...
They always say...
Didn't they also do it with, what was it? Sith. It was in Revenge of the Sith, they had a little Peter Cushing there at the end.
Yeah, at the very end, but that was a dude in makeup from far away. Wasn't it going to be Christopher Eccleston? like I could swear like he was going to
Playing
do it,
Grand
or
Moff
he
Tarkin?
yeah.
Just what, his face or?
In that far shot, I think like that's Christopher Eccleston, I think. So I'm confused. I know they had an original.
Well, Cushing was very tall. I don't know how tall Eccleston was.
But they got the voice right too in Rogue One. That's what they got a guy that could do the voice perfectly.
Yeah. No, here we have.
I still imagine like what if they had a cohesive idea of what they were trying to do and not switch lanes in the middle, like what Rogue One could have been, because it's still kind of messy.
Well, the only thing that really disappoints me about Rogue One is that a lot of it kind of looks like a video game storyline where you have to unlock this thing, get into here, and then you have to go up into this thing and collect a hard drive, and then
so does Rise of Skywalker. Jesus, I mean, it's all like we got to get.
Rise of Skywalker is kind of like if you made a Lord of the Rings video game, you know.
And speaking of which, I'm gonna say like Lord of the Rings is so much better than honestly than even all the Star Warses, because it's so cohesive. And it's so and it really, I mean, it has like 4 endings, but each ending is perfect.
I enjoyed the first 2 movies. Perfectly. I think Two Towers is my favorite. I thought Return of the King was way too long. I thought it could have been.
Well, then you really wouldn't like the extended cut of Return of the King, because that's like
fucking
4 hours.
Extended cut. It's a 3-hour movie.
I think it's 3:40 theatrical. And like
I can't believe I sat still throughout that whole thing. I didn't get up once to go to the bathroom. It's weird. Maybe I didn't have any soda.
Neither did I.
I mean, I do try to sit still. I try to plan my bathroom breaks, you know.
Yeah, honestly I didn't get up during Rise of Skywalker. I was surprised. I'm like, I guess I timed it just right.
When we went to see Uncut Gems, neither me nor my wife got up for bathroom breaks.
Well, you'd already seen it though, so it was. You saw it through suspicious means, but
I saw it through suspicious means, and then a movie that good deserves to be seen in the theater. Really good. Really disappointing that it got no Oscars or nominations or anything, because it is a.
Come on, it's Adam Sandler. He did the Jim Carrey thing with like Truman Show. He didn't even get nominated for that one either.
Yeah. But Truman Show was different because he was still Jim Carrey though, and he wasn't. I don't think he was trying to do something. He was kind of goofy in the movie, you know.
Did he not get nominated? Did he also not get nominated for Man on the Moon?
I don't know. I think he.
Because that's a great movie, by the way, and it's a great performance too.
He might have gotten nominated. I'm not sure. But Uncut Gems is such a departure, and it's so you actually honestly forget it's Adam Sandler. You're about 10 minutes into this thing, and it's like it's not Adam Sandler.
Well, see, the great thing about Sandler is he can do whatever the fuck he wants, because he's got so much of his like 2000s Adam Sandler money when he was making $20 million to go and did it like 7 or 8 times.
Jack and Jill. Dunkachino.
I actually like that. Oh, cappuccino.
You're playing D&D, and you're playing D&D. The whole freaking apartment is playing D&D. We just got made. Oh, and Jar Jar becomes a hero. This is weird. It's all cut together. You got 3 different sequences going at the same time. You have the Duel of the Fates.
Now, is this about the time when they show the clip of like George Lucas looking at this and going, "Well, I guess this is the movie." Isn't this the part when he's looking at it?
If you look at the documentary about the Phantom Menace, you see very painfully, from beginning to end, that George Lucas is kind of like the emperor who has no clothes, and no one wants to tell him, because he's signing their paychecks. So everything that he does, everybody loves. Every idea he comes up with, that's a brilliant idea, George. Yes. Oh, that was funny. You made a joke.
Would he have wanted somebody to tell him no?
The guy is so, Lucas is so unapproachable. He's not a guy that you can have a beer with. There was like something Stephen King said about Stanley Kubrick. He said, he's a guy you can have a beer with as long as you don't think you're going to be drinking all night. So it's like he's got like this reserve. He's I think George Lucas is a very shy man. I think he's an incredibly painfully shy man. He might even be on the spectrum in a kind of way. And also, how would you like to be that guy that is known for that one thing when you wanted to do something different? You know, he never wanted to make movies like this. He wanted to make documentaries. He wanted to go out with a 16mm camera and make small little movies. He was
there. Honestly,
I think
there was nothing preventing him from doing whatever the fuck he wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. Same with Scorsese.
And
same
he
with
didn't
Spielberg.
do it, so that's on him, man.
But now they're just so invested in the idea of mass appeal. You know, Spielberg could go out there and he could make a million failures and still be remembered as Spielberg. Maybe even Lucas too. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I think that what Spielberg needs to. I mean, look, Spielberg.
Oh no,
Spielberg.
Qui-Gon just bit it.
Now I gotta say, there's a wig again. And a wig, and then he'll go back to his regular hair.
Okay, now wait. Before you continue your thought, does Obi-Wan there not look angry? I thought anger led to hate.
Well, it
and
does.
This is a revenge.
This
becomes a revenge killing now.
Yeah.
So this is hate.
But
according to Yoda, he should just turn the other cheek and walk away.
I gotta say though, like I had the soundtrack album, and when the cut it right there when the music is like dun, 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 it says right there Qui-Gon's death, and I'm like, fuck you.
All right, so what were you saying about Spielberg?
I was saying Spielberg can't really do Spielberg, and I love him. And if he ever hears this, I'm very sorry, Mr. Spielberg. I'm very sorry. But if you see his early stuff, let's go back to this like Duel.
Yeah,
that's way better than it has any right to be. And all of his movies, I mean, even the stuff he makes now is excellent, but he's always evolved, and he does different movies than he used to do, and that's fine. But then when he tries to do stuff, the kind of movies that he used to do, it doesn't, like Ready Player One. It's not a bad movie, but it's not. Oh, there's back to his regular hair. But he doesn't make those movies that he used to make. Like he can't do it. Maybe he could do an E.T., but he couldn't do a Close Encounters. Although that has to do with the fact that he just would not like put a family through that. But it's like he makes different movies. He makes kind of like older person heavy dramas, and he makes them really well,
I guess.
And that's what he should be doing if he tried to do. Although I was thinking, what if after the whole Colin Trevorrow thing happened, what if they made an emergency call to Spielberg and said, can you finish this off for us?
Didn't Lucas try to get Spielberg for Jedi?
He kind of tried to get him for Jedi, but I'm like,
the thing is, Spielberg is not. No. Spielberg would never do that. He's not of that. Spielberg is more definable for what he brings to the project, and I don't think Spielberg would do that. Spielberg would only do Raiders because that's something he originated with Lucas and Lawrence Kasdan.
I still think that if he call it and he said, you know what, fuck it, and he did it, it probably would have been excellent.
I think it's too.
Somehow, I think he would have done it.
I think he has too much of a sensibility and also it would be distracting. Because you'd be thinking about Spielberg when you shouldn't be. This is kind of like crossing the streams or getting your peanut butter in my chocolate.
Actually, at this point for him, the pressure's off. I think at this point.
Well, I mean, could you have imagined David Lynch directing Jedi? I mean,
no. Well, see, that was where he took it, and he took a meeting and.
But could you? I mean, they had him on their list. You know, they also had Philip Kaufman. You know, I mean, it's like the same kind of people that they wanted to originally direct the motion.
Now, Kaufman, I think, could have done it. Kaufman could have done it.
The Star Trek the motion picture. I mean, the same people were on that list. You know, and they all turned it down. Lucas turned it down. Spielberg turned it down because it wasn't their thing. You know, it was like they had their own ideas about how they wanted to do things, and it was probably kind of like what we're seeing now with Disney, where they have definite ideas about what they want to see. And if some director comes along and says, I want to try it this way, they're going to be like, thank you, there's the door.
Well, they did that with Rian Johnson, and it pissed off.
What you need for Star Wars is a dog's body, what you call a dog's body in the UK, which is basically the guy who just takes the orders and says action and cut, tries to put some performance together, and then tries to have a completed film. But nobody who can really, I mean, like, Lucas had a lot of respect for Irving Kershner. He was his teacher. So he let him basically do whatever he wanted, but they did go over budget. You know, so Marquand did not have quite the clout of a Kershner in Lucas's eyes. So Lucas kind of...
They just went back and forth between his real hair, and now we're back at the wig for the close up.
Here we go. This
I
is,
noticed
this
these
is the wonderful. I love how he just sort of shoots up into the air. He's going to grab the saber and whoa, Nelly!
He's not dead.
But he's like, what?
That wig.
Did you just? Boom, boom, boom. But they couldn't get his lower half. Instead, he had to have Terminator legs.
Yeah.
Plus, he gained a little weight too. I noticed in Solo. But what are you gonna do? Guys gain weight. He had a dad bod.
You know what? You know what it is though. As you get older, your face can get fat, and the rest of you can be like. He's lean and trim. It's just hell. He's probably got more muscle on him. That's probably what it is.
Yeah, I noticed that myself.
As Arnold would say, you know, the maturity of the matter.
when I look at pictures of myself in 1999 and I look at myself today, my face has gotten fucking fatter. I mean, it really has.
The funny thing is, if you,
I wish you could suck the fat from people's faces.
Hard-working experience of late, of like, I'm thinner than I was 20 years ago. I'm way thinner than I was when this movie came out.
Yeah, but do you eat though? I mean, you've told me.
Oh yeah, I'm eating. Trust me, I'm eating.
I mean, but are you eating like fatty foods, carbohydrates, that kind of stuff?
I'm eating everything. It's just that, you know, it's kind of like.
Do you get up and run around a lot? I mean, are you very physically active?
You know what? Here's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to stay as active as I can because I don't want to sit on my fat ass. Now we're talking about health tips here on Star Wars.
Health tips for
by the way,
Star
back
Wars,
to the way.
yes.
Health tips for Star Wars.
Have you tried the Star Wars
don't eat
diet?
Too much. Well, it's kind of like the end of the meaning of life. You know, try and get a walk in. Try not to eat too much fat.
And avoid the salmon mousse at all cost.
Yeah. Well. Oh yes. Now, I'll be watching you, young boy. Yes.
We'll look at you with great interest.
And that's another thing of like when they get to the reshoots, Dick Lloyd looks like he's about like a foot taller now.
He did. Well, boys, you know, they shoot up there around that time.
That's right.
And he's going to be boinking that? He's going to be hitting that soon?
Yeah.
Do you think they ever got, you know, crazy with the makeup and the hair, you think?
Ooh.
Can we try something tonight? Can you put on the makeup and the wig? I just want to see what it'd be like. Sorry.
Yeah, we got CG Yoda.
Had to be lewd. Sorry. I do not. Qui-Gon's defiance I sense in you. Chosen one the boy may be, nevertheless, grave danger I fear in his training. I really have to remember to bring an extension cord for my goddamn fucking headphones, because this has been a pain in the ass for me tonight. I'd love to get a lazy boy in here too while I'm watching.
Well, you know, if you had Disney Plus, you could just watch it on your computer while you're doing this.
Yeah. You and your Disney. What do you work for Disney, dude?
No, I love it, but I love it. I gotta pay. I pay them. I pay
but
CBS.
You're not getting Song of the South. Instead, you're getting.
I saw it in the theater.
You're getting fucking warnings now. You're getting warnings to say, "Oh, this was made at a time in a historical context." And all
well,
that
you
crap.
know what? Gosh darn it, we grow, we advance as a society.
This is why we have parents, though. Parents can. I can tell Regan, okay.
We're not parents anymore.
Well,
Fuck that. They're too busy. They're all on anti-anxiety meds and pass out.
Not me. I'm straight. Just Mary.
Good.
Yes. We roam around the.
Okay, so now we've got. Okay, so we're at the funeral.
Yes. We're coming to the end.
I think Ewan McGregor has his original hair again. Let's see.
I can't tell what kind of hair
we're gonna do a spin where they wonder who the real Sith is, and then they're gonna zoom in and
and then you get that shot. It's pretty much a foreshadowing shot right there.
Have a Palpatine. Then they're gonna discuss it
right
now.
His very impressive Roman profile. It's a very impressive shot. There's a lot of stuff in here. Like I said, Lucas has a great eye because he knows how to tell a story with pictures. That's all he wanted to ever do.
Well, you know, I just want to say, like, okay, there's I wonder who it could be.
There we have,
it's Palpatine, you fuck!
Notice his profile? He looks like he should be on a coin. Oh, yes. Here we go with the big celebration. And, okay, now if you notice, the music is a combination of the Naboo music and the fish monster music. So they combine the fish. What are the fish monsters called? Do we even know? I don't even know. Jar Jar's people, you know? I mean, that's all we always call them.
Yeah, there's
now, it's obvious that Amidala, God, we're getting into important shit and the movie's about to end. Amidala's people it's a matriarchy. They're a female-led government.
Mm-hmm.
There seem to be because they have elected queen. It's a weird thing where you have an elected queen, even though that doesn't make any sense. But apparently, you can step down after you're done being a queen.
Now you could say that guy in the pink. He's like part of Yoda's.
Do you think?
Is he part of Yoda's?
I don't know about that. No, he looks too. I hate to use the word, but he looks too normal.
Okay.
Now we know also. I mean, I know. Everybody knows. Even though I didn't watch the rest of The Mandalorian, I only watched the first episode. That is not Yoda. It's just a baby of his species.
It's a baby of his species.
Which is what? What are they called?
Okay, now she's giving him the eye. Okay. And original hair. Okay.
This kid barely knows how to wipe his ass. He's trying to make time with the queen. And that is Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, written and directed by George Lucas, produced by his producing partner, Rick McCallum, who he started working with, I believe, on the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, right?
Yeah.
And George Lucas slept with the executive producer, as you can see. Ooh. David Tattersall, very good, from Tattersall family of cinematographers. And there's Ben Burt. Ben Burt helped. He's a sound expert, but he also helped with the editing in that way, and was largely instrumental for the look of the pod race sequence. And
sound design, Ben Burt.
Sound design by Ben Burt. Worked with him on THX 1138. Great piece of sound work.
John Williams, I would say, arguably his last best Star Wars score.
Liam Neeson. His last, maybe his last most identifiable score. Because of the duel.
He puts it all in this one, whereas the other two seem very sort of generic.
Well, I'll tell you, I did like Rey's theme, the theme that he made for Rey.
He has his moments, and they're not terrible, and they have their own themes and everything. But I would say this is his last balls to the wall score. I'm gonna say very reminiscent of Empire Strikes Back, where he just sort of throws it all in.
Empire, and
even Jedi.
And Jedi too. Jedi. Luke and Leia's theme is incredible, and Jabba's theme that you'd never really hear in the movie, but you hear it on the soundtrack, Well,
you hear it. Well, I would say the Jabba theme you hear in here when during the pod race when he comes in is like Jabba the Hutt. He comes in.
There was this trombone, or no, maybe it was a tuba, but it was like, and then of course you have the Ewok theme, which is dun 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 dun, which sounds a lot like the Jawa theme from New Hope. And of course the Emperor's theme, which he reprises for Rise of Skywalker, which is
I felt like that they took they just took music and just recycled it. I don't even think it didn't even felt like he rescored it or anything to me. It felt very cut and paste.
No,
to me.
I don't know if I agree with you. It sounded fresh. It sounded like it did sound a little. There were some variations there that he worked on a little bit. But yeah, he did not do that much because he doesn't have to. He's got an entire library. Probably, if I understand Williams, he's probably one of these guys who has millions of takes of his music that he saved.
But I mean, just look back on John Williams' music. When I think of John Williams, there's another thing I listen to: his Close Encounters score, his score for Superman. I mean, that was like he did like basically triple threat when he did Star Wars, Close Encounters, and Superman.
Yeah.
Probably a couple other movies in there too.
They always do their best work very early on. And John Williams has an extremely adaptable style.
Oh, well, let me tell you something. John Williams, he was no spring chicken when he did that. He had a huge career as like a jazz musician before that.
He did jazz. He did Irwin Allen TV shows. He did Lost in Space. He did the theme for Lost in Space, which was adapted for the new Netflix show, and it's an incredible adaptation of it.
By the way, I'm into I think episode. I've done 1 and 2 of that. I think it's actually like that show. We're going cross promotion here. But I think Lost in Space is I think season 2 is even better so far because there's more sort of adventure and action.
You finished the first season?
First season done.
And now you're in
second season. I'm in 2 episodes. I'm just on that part where they've landed on the planet and they saw the weird ship.
We're probably going to finish that up on Monday. because we've been alternating. Because I don't like to binge watch. I like to take my time and watch the. Yeah, the second season has been really good. It has been really good. The first season was incredible. Did you read my article yet?
I probably did. I just forgot.
One of the directors of the show retweeted my article. It was just incredible.
Oh.
All right, we're on to the model makers here, and we have to keep doing this until we get to the end so we can say goodbye and all that stuff.
All right, well then, here, again, take this opportunity, as we were talking about before. America, I am healthy. I'm not too skinny. I'm actually up a couple of pounds. I'm all right. I'm just sort of lean and trim, and that's where I'm at. And I do eat, Mom. I eat. It's okay. I'm eating fine. It's just, you work hard, you get skinny. And then maybe your body gets used to being skinny. And at some point, maybe I'll get fat again. I keep active. I'm out there. I'm using the force.
Using the force.
Using the force. I'm forcing things around. I'm forcing food into my mouth. I'm all right. I'm healthy. Except for right now I'm having like tooth issues because I had some dental surgery and it still hurts because, it's one of the times in my life where I wish a hole would heal up.
They're shot in Italy, too. Well, that must have been parts of...
Yeah, that's right. They shot it at like a castle or something.
Probably parts of Amidala's palace were shot there.
Yeah, I think there's a moment, it's either in this or Attack of the Clones. It was actually the same thing that was used in Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah.
Like there was a part in Lawrence of Arabia when they're in a castle or some sort of like big thing, and like that's kind of where it goes into the intermission.
We're coming to the end of this. I want to thank everybody for listening. It's been a lot of fun to look back at this movie after 20 years. I want to thank everybody who listened to the Rise of Skywalker thing. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks, David. Thanks for joining me for this.
Thank you.
And if you have any problems with this video, call 1-800-PHONE-THX or visit www.thx.com. Thank you very much. And English, U.S. dubbed. Good night.
Oh, there we go. Good night. And I didn't wave.